Just go through? Yep. This is Greg Native, Vice Chair. We're gonna start right now, but expect Gus momentarily. Oh, there is Gus. Momentarily and momentarily. So we will wait for him to officially convene the meeting. We're already in the book. All right. Welcome everybody to the 22nd. Okay, it's the May 22nd. May 22nd, that's the date. Awesome. The May 22nd meeting of the Midcoast Community Council. And it will.
So.
Here.
John?
Here.
Yeah, Mary Claire.
Here. Here.
Dan.
Here.
And.
Kimberly's expected at 7:15. Okay, well, let's get started then with reports of government officials. And I would like to begin that discussion by formally welcoming Marcel to our meeting. And this is to just set the table for that. I met with Ray on Thursday and said we would love to have someone bring the team here. And I said, I sort of explained that, we've had conversations here over the last 6 months, and I think we as a council and the community broadly has handled those conversations with some skill and some grace, with fire station, GRA, things like that. And so I said, I think, I would love to make the case that we sort of earned our privileges back, and Ray agreed. And so we have Marcel here. So I just want to say let's not get so excited that we finally have someone back here that we hit her with 50,000 questions she can't possibly have answers to. Let's not, in other words, fumble the football first day back after 6 months of hard work to get back to it. So with that, I have to welcome you back to for a meeting. And think of it as the first day in a long and productive relationship. With that, do you have any updates for us? Yes.
Thank you, and I'm happy to be here. I have a friend in my home. Oh. Is it on already?
There is a comment from the audience saying they can't hear us. Is that generally true? A bit echoey and garbled. Got my volume turned up and I can't really hear. You hear me? Everything's good on there.
One thing that everybody should try to do is, if there's any 120 volts, for the extension cord, to try to keep it separated from the microphones, because sometimes that does cause an issue. If they're, twisted up or too close, so.
Gotcha.
One thing to keep in mind. Let's check, see. Is there any improvement to the sound?
Put the microphone less and. All right. People hear me okay if I do that? It's thumbs up.
So we got.
Barbara Dye says better. Probably the best we can do. I think we all have to kiss the microphones tonight. We don't have fans. Okay, go for it.
All right. Well, hi, everybody. My name is Marisol Salera. I work with the supervisor on policy. My portfolio pretty much includes most issues. I don't work with necessarily, well, I don't necessarily handle parks issues, because I'm just saying that because I've seen it on the screen. That would be my colleague Cassandra. But anyway, I work with constituents in general, so whatever questions you have on that end, I have. The update for tonight is basically I'll be your new representative for Supervisor Mueller's office. And I do have my business card here that I'll pass around from the left, from left to right. My first update is going to be on C10. I'm sure you all have heard on the C10 issue. And right now, there's not much of a real update, other than the supervisor continues to have conversation with CTIM. And as soon as I have more details on that, I can keep you all posted. The second update I wanted to give you was on Highway 92. So there's gonna be overnight striping work from 9 p.m. to 5 a.m. between Thursday night and Friday morning. This work is gonna restore the striping alignment of the roadway for two-way traffic. I did have, we created these, this website, giveaway here for you to go onto and check it out in case you wanna see what's happening. It actually has live footage, so if you wanna check it out, I'm gonna pass it.
I'll put it down for the others to see.
Thank you. The other thing is that I was looking into an update on the MCC letter from the county executive's office, and that's regarding budget and how to track expenses for the fiscal year. And that's still pending, so I will get back to you on that as soon as I have, I get the final word on it. The other update I wanted to give you is on the CPUC. As you know, the supervisor did go to the first CPUC hearing on the AT&T Kohler meeting that just took place not too long ago. We received a decision from the judge, which is basically the California Public Utilities Commission law judge rejecting AT&T's application to be relieved as Kohler, which is a carrier of last resort, and its obligation to provide basic network telephone service to any customer. The ruling is online. I actually have a copy of it. I can give you the case number, which is A as an apple 2303003. Was filed March 3rd, 2023. And then on the back of it, it includes the different areas within San Mateo County that would have been impacted. So I can leave a copy with you all here as well. And if you want to read more about it, about the rejection to AT&T, it's posted on the California website, and it's posted on the San Mateo County press release website. I have a copy of that as well, and I can leave it with you if you want to share it.
Would be a good idea to have it posted on the MCC. Well,
If I get the electronic copy, I'll post it on the.
Oh, great. Okay, I can do that. Yeah. Okay, I'll send it to you electronically. And also a copy of the press release from the county executive's office on the denial of AT&T's request, so that you can see. And I would like to say as well that if you haven't signed up for Supervisor Mueller's Twitter, he usually posts most of his updates on there. So I would encourage you to check it out. Not trying to promote Twitter, but I'm just trying to promote the fact that we do have updates on his Twitter. And that's it for my report.
We've had any questions from the council.
Sorry, I have 2 points. I would like to ask, to keep track of things, I would like to ask if there may be someone who could give me maybe an email on the requests, like by the end of the meeting or maybe the next day. So that way I make sure that I'm capturing everything. And then the other thing is it possible to get a vote on things so that I can take that back to the supervisor and just give them votes? I'm not really sure if you guys vote on things, like for example, if you have a request. Based on
Sometimes.
okay.
Would it be helpful if we had some sort of system where most of the stuff came to the chair or something like that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna have to, kind of get acquainted with how you guys have your practice in sharing information and, so whoever wants to share that.
That's how we have a lot of conversations today about how we communicate things.
Okay.
Great, thank you for that. That was a lot of great information. So, okay, questions from the council, whether it was first, then.
Thank you and welcome. I have a general request, and I don't know if you can do it or not. But one of the things that's happened a lot is that things go on that involve what we're interested in, and what we should be involved in, and we never get notified of anything. What I would like to ask you, if you can do, is anytime there's a meeting or a press release or a proposal or anything that you send to the county, the cities, that you send it to us too. I think that might solve the problem, because I end up hearing about things that we should have been involved in. And that everybody around us is involved in the specific that happened today, and everything, and we never have heard of it. And so if we just get on that mailing list, would be very helpful, something like that.
Okay, so like a press release from the county,
Or a,
that goes to the.
yeah, they goes to the cities, or like if there's, like, I think there was a retreat on healthcare last week, they went to the cities. There's,
Okay, I'll look for that.
projects that Kathleen Day is notified about, on the coast, we're not notified. If just anything you send to them, if you send to us.
Okay, I'll explore that and see what it's all about.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, welcome. That's all. You mentioned, the Twitter, updates.
Yeah.
Historically, the MCC. Would essentially, give all the updates. We, can hear all comment, ask questions, and hear. I'm hoping that, we're gonna kind of move in that direction and not say, oh, well, something's on Twitter, but it's not, announced here in our meeting. Is
Yeah,
that fair a fair request?
yeah, let me clarify. So when I said that you are more than welcome to check out the supervisor's Twitter account, I meant it because, since there's only gonna be, I guess, 2 meetings in a month, right? There might be a lot of updates that you might see at times when we're not meeting, or not even before a meeting or after a meeting, in case maybe you just kind of want to follow along and he posts just anything, even before maybe, I know in the moment, that could be an opportunity for you to see an update, right? So just for that purpose, but I didn't mean it to imply that I wasn't gonna provide updates, because, I mean, I was planning on providing updates like I just did on my.
So all the updates that would, concern our community would also be updated to you.
Yeah,
We wouldn't find like there's one update that concerns the community on Twitter, and it's not, announced here. Is that fair?
yeah, I think that's fair to say. I mean, I think that I came with the intention of providing whatever updates were probably relevant in the last couple of days since the last meeting. Yeah, sure.
Great, I think it makes sense, so we just find out things faster if we also check Twitter. Awesome.
So I have a kind of technical question. I just emailed you the Midcoast Community Council email. And you write to that, all 7 members will receive those emails. The technical question is, I'm wondering if you sign the MCC up for Twitter, would it get the tweets from Ray and automatically send them to all 7 of us? I don't know.
I'd rather not have that.
But so you don't want to receive the.
Well, the idea is about everything focused at our meeting in front of the community at one time, as opposed to being scattered about and just, I don't think it would work as well.
The idea is, it's not a replacement, it's an in addition.
Right.
Because if we have to wait another week, like if there may be a great update that maybe happened last week, and why maybe we should all just know that when it happens and not have to wait a week to get the update. And when you want to, oh, so give us the update. Here in the meetings, the whole community can hear it, but we as a council are already aware of it because we were on that. We're on that. Just
If we chose to,
beautiful choice.
right.
You always just write a little filter that, put it in out here, you know, I'm not seeing like it. It's- Well, I can do it for you if you want. Do we have any other questions from the council? Do we have questions from the community for? Okay, great. Thank you so much for that update. Harvey, do you have anything for us?
I got a couple of things. I hate to scoop Marisol, but I heard her boss explain that he's actively negotiating to actually get some urgent care, probably located at the Coastside Clinic. This is all hush hush, but he did say it publicly. And since I've been a big advocate that we need urgent care on the coastside, I thought I'd mention that. The other update has to do with the city council last night heard two appeals for the Caltrans Highway 1 renovation project. One appeal was from Len Erickson and Catherine Slater Carter. I wasn't a formal appeal in the sense that they wanted to deny the project. They just wanted to make sure that we did everything we could to get as much parking as possible that would get we would lose it from the bike lanes near Surfers Beach on both east and west side. So that will remove some parking spots that informally and illegally have gone on for just the last 20 years. So there are numerous ways that we can try to replace that parking. It's going to involve coordination between the Harbor Commission, Caltrans, the city. We're looking forward to actually having that happen. There's a complication in that the county is also appealing the east side bike lanes, and it may end up in the coastal commission making a decision about whether or not we have to have more parking or whether the bike lanes are okay. That's to be decided, but I thought I'd mention that. So we're grateful that Len and Catherine tried to get us to realize that we want to keep as much parking as we can, but we also need the bike lanes. So both are going to happen, I hope. And the other appeal was from Caltrans. They appealed what the Planning Commission in Half Moon Bay had proposed for pushback on certain requirements. In the end, the council upheld all the conditions that we had asked Caltrans to do, with the exception of a push button at Kelly and Highway 1. We wanted them to relocate that push button for safety. A lot of comments about safety, and the consensus was that we need to let Caltrans do this maintenance project, fix the potholes, curbs near the bus lanes, but that there are a lot of real safety issues that are important in the city, but we're going to tackle them later, and it's going to be very expensive to do, but it's important that we do tackle them. But in the meantime, we essentially have approved the Caltrans project, which will be starting within 6 months or so. That's what I got. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, Harvey, I was at the meeting last night and I wanted to voice this question then, but it didn't seem quite the right time. The parking areas that were kind of talked about last night as possible options. I guess my concern would be, producing more hard surfaces along the shoreline, because a couple of the places that were pointed out last night were, spots that aren't really that developed. You know, there's no lot in those places that were mentioned. And I guess I would want to register that I would prefer no paved lots.
Okay, I will bring that up.
That the harbor district seems to be paving more and more along the shoreline, in their, you know, on their areas of jurisdiction, and it's problematic because it creates more runoff, faster runoff. And, you know, it also presents erosion issues, so that would be my concern.
Thanks for that.
Hi, Harvey. So I just had a question about the urgent care. Is that the provided clinic? Is that down here in Hopkins, down in Hopkins Bay? Is that the one not at?
Yeah, that's the one in Shoreline Station. Now, don't quote me on this. This is all at the very preliminary stages of negotiation. But I thought, since I have such a vested interest in making sure it does happen somewhere, whether it's at Seton Coastside or the Coastside Clinic in Hamper Bay, I thought I'd bring a little happiness to your otherwise unhappy life.
Which one can be this always good and make sure that there might be is happening. Thank you.
Well, yeah, no, thank you for that, extra detail, Harvey. So to add on to that, I just wanted to say to that conversation, I don't have any updates yet, so I'm still waiting on the supervisor's update after his conversation.
Do we have any questions from the community for Harvey? Okay, great. Then let's go Barbara, and then we have Mitch after Barbara.
Okay, mine's really quick. I just wanted to let people know that the mitigated negative declaration for Granada Community Park is out and available if you want to read several hundred pages of environmental review. It's posted on the GCSD website. Right at the top, the center of the homepage is the link to get to look at the document. Comments need to be received by June 17th. And if you can also go to Coastside Buzz, which has posted this for us too. So that's out there. Take a look. It's a big step forward for the park. So we're excited.
Thanks, Barbara.
Well, I have a question about when it would be appropriate to invite QCSD to come here to set the plans.
Yeah, I actually, I sent you those. We'll see if there's a plan for that. That wasn't the existing plan for that, but the force to have that. But I think we can talk. Don't you? Okay. I will continue that. We're gonna follow up with the HCS about that. Anybody from the community, from waiting to. Hey, Barbara, are you still there?
She's there, but
Yes, I'm here, but I can't really hear anything you're saying. I really can't hear you. And I have everything turned up to the highest.
can you hear me, Barbara?
Yes.
You're great. Why don't you try it on maybe? No, yours is mine. Try it, yours.
Is there a question for me?
Yes.
Kimberly, I have a question about, there hasn't been a lot here, there's nothing else to talk, and I think it's very.
I don't understand anything.
Try this one. Well,
Is this better?
put it all the way, put it all the way, I mean, like a half inch
Can you
away.
hear me now?
Barbara,
Yes.
okay, so you can hear me, but you cannot hear Kimberly.
Yes, I can hear you.
Over there. Talking about that, like. Okay. Good. All the applicants gonna have in their stands, see. Oh, she can't hear me either.
Okay, now, Barbara,
So, something,
is it better? I wanted to try to do it.
okay, well, let's all stop talking, so.
Can you hear me now, Barbara?
Yes.
Okay, so, Greg asked the question of whether you could come to the MCC and you know, share with us the park plan. Because we haven't really heard a lot about that up to this point. And, my question is, because I also haven't heard a lot about it, are the park plans taken into account that at some point, due to climate change, you know, and sea level rise, that the park may need to.
I'm not getting what you're saying. I'm hearing you saying that you haven't seen the park plan and you'd like it explained, but that there's some specifics that you're looking for that I'm not picking up. Is that right?
That is right. You try to be louder. Is that better?
Yes.
So,
Yes.
so my question is, up until this point, I haven't really heard anything about the park plans and whether it's taken into account the impacts of climate change, increased storms and flooding and sea level rise, and what that means for, you know, how long the life of the park will be.
Okay. A lot of those issues are addressed. I know that the plan, once the comment period is completed and the questions that are asked by the community are answered, then we will bring the whole plan to the Midcoast Community Council for review and comment. We did 6 years of outreach through the community, and there's actually another document on the website that's the timeline of all the meetings and surveys and everything else that we've done to work with the community. And then there's been a gap while they were finishing all the environmental review. But there will be more opportunities for questions and documents that you can look at that will, I hope, answer some of your questions. I don't think it's appropriate for me to really go into that tonight, but there's a lot of information out there, and we really have tried hard to balance all of the issues that are out there that affect the design of the park.
Okay, thanks. And I have seen some of that. I did participate a few years ago, but I just have never seen that. So, thank you.
Okay, any other questions from the council? Okay. Thank you, Barbara. Nicholas, you're up.
Yeah, yes, thank you so much. So just two updates from county parks tonight. First is regarding the air curtain burners that are currently operating out at Murata East. I know during our first week there were some adjustments that needed to be made, specifically at night after our fire watch had left. Some embers started emitting from the burn box. And so as a result of that, we've changed the operations to include expanding the buffer around the burn boxes or the air curtain burners where combustible material can be stored. We have essentially moved up the hours of which the material can be loaded into the air curtain burner. So instead of loading material until 5 p.m., material can be loaded up until 4 p.m. And then we're going to be keeping the air manifold on until 7. And that has really improved both the efficiency in how the material burns, and it's prevented any more issues, at least as reported to us. And then we've also worked with the contractor to make sure that the fire watch is staying on site significantly longer to make sure that nothing happened. So we do want to thank the community for bringing this to our attention so we can make the appropriate adjustments. We maintain that for the amount of material that's currently at Quarry Park, both between fuel reduction work and storm debris, this is really the best way to manage that material. But it is also our first time working with this. And so we are making adjustments as we go along as necessitated by circumstances. And so we appreciate those matters being brought to our attention. And I do have Rich Sampson from CAL FIRE on with us today, as well as Evan Cole, the Parks Department's Natural Resource Manager. And so maybe I'll just pause there on the air curtain burner and see if we have any questions before moving on to my second item.
Anyone, but Dan?
Yeah, thank you, Nicholas. I wanted to just quickly ask, so I got 3 questions. How long will this continue for? What's gonna be eventually done with the ash? And are you using a fuel to ignite the logs? Are you using some kind of a fuel? If so, what is it to get the fire started?
Yeah, I'm gonna actually have Evan answer some of those questions as he's more familiar with the technical aspects of the air curtain burners. And then I'll kind of jump in at the end if there's anything that I want to add. But Evan, I see you're on, so go ahead and feel free to take it away.
Yeah, sure. Hi, everybody. My name is Evan Cole. I'm the Natural Resource Manager for the county parks. So I'll try to go through each question one at a time. For the ash, we're still exploring options for where to dispose of it. Obviously, with the incineration process, we're looking at, a negligible amount of ash compared to the in excess of 2,000 tons of combustible material we began the project with. So, I feel like probably at this point, most likely it's going to be stockpiled in some kind of a enclosed tank where it can't leach into the ground or be picked up by wind. And then we'll be off-hauling it off-site. We're just still trying to determine the best and most efficient solution for that. And Rich has more experience with curtain burners, so if he has any additional input on that, feel free to chime in. And I understand that one of the 3 curtain burners on site is currently under maintenance, and so that is affecting our timeline. We had originally been looking up, at just a few weeks on site. But with the reduced hours and Firewatch, as well as the decreased productivity from losing one of the curtain burners temporarily, I'm not actually sure at this point how that affects our timeline. Rich, I'm not sure if you have some assessment of that.
No, but we'll be working on getting that last burner back back operating as soon as we can, hopefully by the end of the week. And depends on what fire conditions are, because when we have no burn days, we have to shut down just because of the of those conditions. So, but it's pushing to get this thing done as soon as possible.
So do we have a schedule? Do we have an expectation of how long it's going to go for, or?
Well, I think the answer was, at this time there are too many variables to be able to give you the certainty that you're looking for.
Yeah, we started out with a broad timeline of, I think 3 to 5 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And at this point, due to the not just the no work days we've had, due to wind and air quality, as well as the potential for more of those, and then the reduction of 1 curtain burner of the 3, and then also the reduced production that we have only just started testing and aren't really entirely sure how it's affecting the rate of combustion. So at this point, like Nicholas said, there's a lot of variables that we're still trying to figure out. It's definitely going to be extending the timeline, but our number 1 priority is to get this project done as soon as humanly possible.
And are we going to save any logs that could be ideal for natural bench setting somewhere around the perimeter or wherever it makes most sense?
I can take that, Evan. So at this time, we haven't marked any of those logs to be retained. We have a number of opportunities, we'll say, throughout the system, if that was something we wanted to pursue. But typically, we don't use eucalyptus for that type of work. But not something we wouldn't be willing to pursue in the future. But right now, we haven't set any logs as part of this project aside. As you all know, we have a lot more fuel reduction work to be done at Quarry Park. So if that's something that there's an interest in pursuing in another project, we're certainly happy to have that conversation.
Good.
Well, it's just that those requests have been made for quite a while now.
Dan, I'll be honest, that's the first time I've ever heard you make that request. So I haven't been part of any of those conversations. But again, we have 300 acres of eucalyptus at Quarry Park. We have a lot more up at some of our other parks. So the opportunity is not lost because we're not doing it as part of this effort.
Thank you.
Other questions for Nicholas on the curtain burners?
Let me just, hey, can you hear me, Nicholas?
Yeah, what's going on, Zach?
Hey, so about 2 weeks ago, just as an aside comment, I went by like around 10 at night and on a Wednesday, and there was flames shooting out of it about 30 feet in the air. And it was dark. It's very dark there, so it's very easy to see it at nighttime. So that's not happening anymore, right?
No, that's not. In fact, the incident you're referring to was the one that caused us to that, and then an incident from the day before was what caused us to reevaluate our operations and make adjustments accordingly to make sure that doesn't happen again.
Awesome. Thanks.
Of course.
Actually, you didn't answer the question about how the fire started. What fuel are you using to start the logs to burn?
Rich, do you know the specific type?
My understanding is they're putting diesel on some of the logs.
Pouring diesel on the logs, is that what you said?
Yes.
That's surprising. Oh.
Okay. That was the answer. Other questions for Nicholas on the curtain burner? Okay. Any questions from the community on specifically the curtain burner? No? Okay. If you have another update for us, Nicholas, on the next.
No, I just wanted to make the MCC aware that we are in mowing season right now, and so we mow throughout our system for a variety of reasons, including managing weeds and invasive species, fire mitigation, and as well as to improve safety for recreationalists and park staff. So we are in mowing season. We notify the community when we're doing certain types of mowing and when closures are required. And so we'll continue to post those advisories, but wanted to make the community aware that we are in that time of year. And this is something we do every year. This year in particular will be because of the late rains, we have a lot of weeds. And so you'll see us doing that work throughout the coming season.
Cool. Thank you. Any questions related to any of that? No? Great. Awesome. Thank you so much, Nicholas, and the rest of your team for coming.
Absolutely. And yeah, thanks, Evan. Thanks, Rich. Talk to y'all later. Have a good meeting.
All right. So that's I think that's it for government officials, which means it's time for public comment on items not on the agenda. Do we have any public comments? Going once.
I see no hands.
Going twice. Okay. Closing public comment then. On we go to consent agenda, which is just to a little housekeeping on a couple of old minutes that I think have had posted for a long time, but never actually voted on. So May 17th of last year and September 20th from last year. Does anybody want to say anything about those?
I move we accept the minutes posted on the consent agenda.
I second that.
Oh, fantastic. And we can call that roll?
Greg,
Yes.
Kimberly. Yes. Gus,
Yes.
me, yes, Claire,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
and Dan.
Yes.
Yeah, it was read AI meeting, whatever.
Oh, yeah, there's an artificial intelligent agent that signs in and records your meeting for you and supposedly provides a superior transcript.
Oh, really?
I'm allowing this to happen. I could turn it off, but I would like to see if we get a better transcript.
Oh, yeah. All
Well,
right.
it was
so we're
also,
running a
it's
live
done at the last
experiment here.
meeting as well, right? Did we
Yeah, I
look
think-
at it yet? I mean,
Okay.
I think this is something.
Welcome to the future.
I think this is something the council should vote on, but did we get a result? Did we get a hard copy of?
I have not looked at it yet.
So they're recording us, but they're not providing, oh, it's
We haven't
available.
looked at it. Right.
It's available.
It's
but we
available.
have not looked at it yet.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, great. Consent agenda is done. That means we are on to the regular agenda, which is first up, the update on the Moss Beach Fire Station. And who's gonna lead this discussion?
Actually, Glenn, Gia from Glenn is gonna be leading.
Okay, fantastic.
Glenn, do you need to share your screen?
Yeah, I want to share my screen and hi everyone, this is Glenn with Summertown County Planning.
Hi, Glenn.
All right, I've made you co-host. Let me know if you're capable of
Yeah,
sharing.
I should be able to. Let me try sharing my screen that we can see my my slides.
We see it. It's a little small, but we see the page.
Okay, so I just made it full screen. So let me know if you can see my screen clearly here. Yeah, so I hear nothing. So I guess I can start my presentation. Okay, yeah. So good evening, Midcoast Community Council members and members of the public. So today is May 22nd, 2024, and the item before you is item 4A on the MCC agenda. So again, my name is Glenn Jia. I'm the project planner with the County of San Mateo Planning. And here we also have Sean Rose and Kara Fensick on the line, and they're representing the Coastside Fire Protection District. So today we're going to share information about two projects with you. The first project is the Fire Station 44, permanent station, new station. And now the second project is the associated project, and that is for the temporary fire station in Moss Beach, and that's a temporary station. And the goal of this presentation is to provide MCC and the members of the public with information about the latest information about those two projects. And yeah, so one quick update on the project is to kind of share the current status of the project with you. So currently the project has been tentatively scheduled for the June 22nd Planning Commission hearing, and the Planning Commission will be the decision-making body for both projects on this day. And again, this day is tentative, and now we're in the agenda request process. If it gets rescheduled, we will notify any interested parties.
Glenn,
Oh, hi.
could you make it full screen so that we're seeing both slides, not just the one slide? It's a presenter's view versus the participant view.
Okay, so I just did some, give me one moment, please. Let me reshare my screen just to make sure you can see the full screen. Do you see the full screen now?
No.
Still see
Still
both.
no?
That means is that you have to swap the views.
Yeah, give me one moment, please.
Sorry.
Sorry. Okay.
Good.
Whoa, what'd you do?
Much better, thank you.
I just exited the presenter's view, so it's a little awkward. So now hopefully you can see the full screen.
Great.
Okay, so I will continue just introducing the project to you. Okay, so this slide is a location map for both fire stations. So as you can see, the red arrow is pointing. That's the project site for the permanent fire station 44. So it's on Stetson Street. Now this parcel is currently developed with the existing fire station 44, and this parcel is residentially zoned. And now regarding the temporary fire station, as you can see here, that the blue arrow is pointing at. So this parcel is located at the near the intersection of California Avenue and Appledore Street in Moss Beach. And this parcel is a commercial zone parcel. This parcel is currently vacant, and now the fire station proposed to install their temporary fire station on this parcel for approximately 18 months. And now here is a photo of the existing fire station 44. So this fire station has been in the area for many years, has been providing emergency fire protection services to the area. And this fire station currently has 2 apparatus space, and it's approximately 3,100 square feet. And the fire station decided to propose a new fire station and demolish this existing station in order to meet the current needs and future needs for fire protection and emergency services of the area. And here you can see that's a rendering or like elevation for the proposed fire station 44. There will be a permanent station, and this permanent station will be approximately 10,000 square feet in size. It will be 28 feet tall with mechanical unit on top, as you can see my cursor. So there will be a mechanical unit on top of the roof, on the roof. And now the construction, according to the fire district, the construction process will take approximately 18 months from the date of the building permit issuance. And now they anticipate to start the construction in January 2026. And now one thing to note is because of the unique nature of fire station, in order to ensure full functionality, such as like adequate circulation and safe ingress and egress, the fire district proposed a variance for exceptions to the front setback and floor area. And now I will show you the site plan in the next slide. That way it can kind of help you visualize the request. So this is the site plan we have received. That's the latest site plan. As you can see here, this is the front setback line. According to the zoning development standards of the zoning district, we require 20-foot setback. So this is what they're proposing. So there will be approximately 14 feet. So that's about 6 foot encroachment into the required setback. And that's covered as part of the variance application. And now in addition to that, as you can see on your right-hand side of the screen, so this is a zoning compliance table. So they comply with most of the zoning standards. So in addition to the setback encroachment, they're also requesting an exception to the maximum floor area for the fire station. So in this zoning district, normally like a development is subject to a floor area cap at 6,200 square feet. But again, this is a unique public use project. So they need additional square footage to ensure full functionality of the building and to provide essential safe like emergency services to the area. So it will be approximately 4,000 square feet exception to the maximum floor area. And now we routed this project to MCC and also other agencies, and we have gathered comments and interest about the project. So because of time constraints, I'm unable to go over every comments that we received and now provide response to all those comments. So I picked 2, those are the most I would say those are like the top two concerns we received from communities and other interested parties. So the first concern is about lighting. So this fire station proposes light poles and now wall-mounted lights to provide illumination of the site at nighttime. So we received concerns from MCC and other interested parties. So in response to those concerns, the fire district staff and their project team has eliminated the one light pole for a northern driveway and replaced that light pole with a light boiler. So that will kind of help reduce the spillover light at or near the property boundary. And now also they have proposed dimmable and dual headlights for adjustments between cool and warm lighting. And also, we received further comments from MCC regarding their first resubmittal. We have shared that comments with the fire district staff. And in response to that, they understand the concerns from MCC and also local community members. So they're in the process of further redesigning the lighting on the property to kind of address the standing concerns from the community. And now we have our representative for the fire district on this line. So maybe after my presentation, if you have any further questions, they'll be able to go over their lighting plan that's in process. And the second concern we received from the community is about the building bulkiness and the high exceedance. So as you can see here, this is original design of the fire station. This station at the reach point is approximately 32.2 feet. So this is over what's allowed by the zoning district. And now county staff and fire staff, we work together. We had a lot of conversation about coming up with like an alternative design to reduce the height to comply with the requirement. And yeah, so in response to that, in the latest submittal, they have been able to reduce the height to 28 feet, which is allowed by the zoning district. And also, staff had comments and also community members had comments about the left wing bulkiness of the fire station. As you can see, there's a flat roof here. So in response to that, as you can see here on the top image, they have just changed the roof design on the left wing just to make it less bulky here in appearance of the fire station. So yeah, and now other than that, we just want to acknowledge that the fire station, the fire district staff are facing constraints such as fire safety concerns, response time, and site circulation. So the fire district needed to do like a lot of weight and balance just to make sure they meet our development standards to the extent feasible. And now we just finished talking about the permanent station, and now we're talking about the temporary fire station. So that's on a different project site. Again, that's located near the. Oh, any questions or? Okay, so I'll just continue.
So I have questions about the permanent fire station.
Okay, so yeah, I suggest I would just finish going over both projects, and we will circle back with your questions. Is that okay with you?
Yeah, that's fine, Glenn. Go ahead.
Okay, so okay, sounds good. And yeah, so we'll just talk about temporary fire station here, and this is also in Moss Beach. Is located near the intersection of California Avenue and Appledore Street. And this will be, they're proposing two prefabricated structures. And now these structures will exist on the property during the construction phase of the permanent station for approximately 18 months. And now these two buildings will be demolished and site will be restored once the permanent fire station has been constructed. And yeah, so these two buildings, they're yeah, so the square footage of these two buildings is 2,400 square feet, and they're 15 feet tall. And also we did some site visit, and also we referenced the Google Street View. It's minimally visible from the Highway 1 city corridor. And okay, next slide here. So we also received some comments from MCC as well as the committee members regarding this temporary station. So yeah, so again, due to time constraints, I just picked two major concerns that we have received. So the first one is again lighting, and we understand dark sky character is what the cold side community want to preserve as always. And so we did our review on lighting, and we worked with the fire station staff on lighting design. So as you can see here on their elevation drawings, there will be only two wall-mounted lights here and here. And now as part of our proposed conditions for the planning commission's review is that we propose a condition to require fully dimmable lights, which means they can turn it on and off, and they can only turn it on. They can turn it on when there's like an emergency, when they need like illumination at night for emergency vehicles, ingress and egress. And the second concern we received from community is demolition plan and restoration plan. So yeah, so I touched on this previously. Again, this temporary station is just temporary for during the construction phase of the permanent station, and they will be removed after the permanent station has been constructed. So yeah, so that's a response from the fire district. Yeah, so I just went over both projects, and yeah, so I'm now available for any questions that you may have. And again, we have Sean and Kara on the phone, so they will be available for any questions that I may not be able to answer.
Awesome. All right. First of all, Glenn, thank you for coming to the meeting and kind of walking us through that. I really appreciate that, and I'm glad to see that some of the stuff around lighting in particular is being kind of factored into these revised plans. Questions from the council? Dan, you want to go first?
Yeah, thank you for sharing tonight, Glenn. What I'd really like to see is drawing similar to what were shared I don't know how many months ago before the MCC commented. It's really difficult to know exactly what was changed. You covered a couple of highlights. My guess is that there were more changes than what you covered. So for us to know truly what to expect, you know, we just need more information in a way that we can actually sit down and digest it and not expect to, you know, understand it with this short presentation. Having said that, I do have a couple of quick questions. I'll have more questions later for certain.
Yeah, sure.
So, you know, one of the concerns that the community some have brought up is the color of the building being light color will be very reflective. The light will reflect off the building, and it looks to me like you know, 25% of it is white. Is this correct?
Yeah, according to their latest rendering here, color rendering here, they do have like white color on the left wing of the building, especially on the second floor here. And also just for the MCC information, so initially when we received this project, we received the color was made like mostly red on the exterior. So that was one of our comments to the fire district in our first round of review. We asked them to consider changing the red color to natural color, or like color that's more consistent with the neighborhood. And now I'm aware that the MCC has concern with the white color on the second floor. So I'll just write it down, and we'll discuss internally, and also fire staff will yeah, they also understand this, and we planning staff will talk with the fire staff after this meeting to see what they may do, and now we'll have some discussion on this.
Okay, and you said you removed one light pole and replaced it with a bollard. How tall will these light poles be? And what are the, well, let's just start with that. How tall will these light poles be?
Yeah, so I would defer that question to the fire district staff, Sean and Kara.
You don't have it? Okay. You have it. And the color of the lights, you say it's dimmable and there's different color. The actual, we just need more information to really digest, to know what to expect. So how can we get all that, complete, the complete information? I'd
Yeah,
rather,
so I chatted with the project architect, Austin, before this meeting. So my understanding is that the fire district's preparing a revised lighting plan, which will be shared with the community before the planning commission meeting. So we will share that on our website. And I can also share it separately, just directly to the MCC before meeting once I receive the revised lighting plan.
I have some
Okay.
information, Dan.
okay, I'm almost done.
Okay, oh, I was gonna say about the lighting.
And then are you going to, will it be available to know all of the, the job of the planning department is to take something like this and really, think it through and for the purpose of having the best planning and adapting to the neighborhood. So will the all the comments from the planning department regarding this project, internal comments regarding this project, will they be available for the community to see so we know, what things the planning department is concerned about?
Yeah, so we do have, so before this meeting, I shared like a response letter from the fire district staff. And like at the bottom of that letter, that shows like the response to planning's comment, at least for the second round. And for his first round comment, yeah, so if you can email me after this meeting, I can share like a list of comments we sent to the fire district for cycle 1. Yeah, I can share that with you. And now again, so our biggest concern for our cycle 1 review was about the variance request for setback and building height, colors, and also the building bulkiness. So those were our initial concerns about this project. But I can share a comprehensive letter with you after this meeting.
Okay, well, maybe other council members, one of the easiest way to send it is just to midcoastcommunitycouncil@gmail.com.
Okay.
That address will get it to all of the council members.
Okay, yeah, so I will share after this meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you. And you.
Yeah, I have some slides, but I might wait if the fire station has color light. And especially around the bay, they're going to do a white or blue hue and an amber, so that during emergency calls, the white light comes on or blue light would be to better illuminate the area. And I'm assuming as they come back and decon the trucks as well. And then otherwise, when they're not on a call, then they're going to be able to dim the lights and have more of an amber hue so it does not kind of bleed over is the plan. Now I've got concerns because, you can't determine when a call is happening. My major concern, and can everybody hear me out there?
Yeah, loud and clear.
Great. I have a very loud voice, so we're lucky. Anyway, so my concern is the location of the bay. It is being relocated closest to all of the neighbors as opposed to where it is now. That presents many different hazards. And I just want to go through a few questions I would have. First of all, OSHA has requirements to protect the health of firefighters. I think everybody agrees with that. And I said, do firefighters have to wear hearing protection around trucks and other sound hazards? The answer is yes. Diesel fumes are carcinogenic and therefore must be exhausted from the fire station to protect firefighters, correct? Hazmat suits are used by firefighters when dealing with contaminants. Red-toned lighting is used to awaken firefighters during nighttime calls so as to protect their health and reduce sleep deprivation, as well as trying to minimize the effect on circadian rhythm, which has a potential to cause heart attack and many other problems if a bright light comes on. Now, these are just a few of the safety precautions being put in place for firefighters. I would like to know what considerations are being given to the neighbors, because when bright white lights come on, that's going right into people's houses. We have had issues with this where neighbors have sent me pictures. I can try to post it, but the light is unbelievable. And it will most certainly awaken people who are next door or even anywhere around this, behind the station and so on. The fumes are going to be right next to the homes. So you're now exhausting fumes that are unsafe for firefighters right next to the community's homes. These homes, most people do not have air conditioning. They have to open windows. So during the warm weather, those fumes are going right into people's homes. Anyone like my family who has asthma is in particular danger. Then we have the fire truck and the diesel generator, which on average emit about 100 to 105 decibels. Within 5-minute exposure at 105 decibels, this causes permanent hearing loss. An acceptable level of noise is usually between 55 and 60 decibels. A truck engine is usually, like I said, about 100 decibels. Now you're going to be having the bay open with the trucks that are going to be idling at approximately 100 decibels. If any sirens have to get used, you're now going way in excess of that. And this is all right next to people's houses. And I want that known because it doesn't look like anything in this picture, but you're right on the property line within 10 feet. And there is no hearing protection for the neighbors that I know of. And the whole concern I have is the size as well. I mean, it takes nearly now, it encompasses almost the entire property. And you're doing this just so that you could drive through. And I believe there's only 3 firefighters on staff at any one time. So you're talking there's approximately, I think it was almost 7,000 square feet of living space and 3,000 square foot bay. That seems excessive to me. Unless, you are planning on some kind of, expansion in the fire company of numerous firefighters. I don't think that was in the plans. That wasn't told to us. It just concerns me that we are doing all of this in the middle of a neighborhood, and it's not really a suitable location for something of this size. If you were to flip the bay to the other side of the property, to the north side of the property, you would affect one neighbor, but there is nobody behind it. There is vacant land. That at least would take some of the hazards away from the neighbors. But that in and of itself is not the best solution because there's still another neighbor being affected on the other side, but at least it's only one. You're talking now, at least I think there's 4 or 5 homes that will all be immediately affected by this particular plan that you have in place here. And I'm just concerned that to have this drive-through feature, you're really squeezing it into this property. And we're wondering why, if there is a vacant lot, the temporary lot, is there a solution to, instead of building the station here, take that lot, take the police substation, switch the substation to where the firehouse is, and build the firehouse on that lot? Those 2 combined lots would give ample space for something like this. It would give multiple entrances and exits. It would also provide the fire station the ability to get right out onto Highway 1, which they don't have now. They're going to have to come through the very narrow streets of the neighborhood, and they're building Cypress Point. We're going to have, probably, I don't know how many hundreds of people to 1,000 people all driving through this neighborhood at the same time, and they're going to have to somehow get their trucks out. So we are asking if this is a vacant property and if the county could get involved, is there some way to basically do a property swap and consider a different location that would be really better suited for this? Because the hazards that are being presented to people, whether it's sound, whether it's diesel fumes, that's not, and then you also are fueling your trucks on location and storing diesel. The sound, I think I said that already, and the light. You have light pollution. I mean, the things that are going to go on here are pretty significant. And so I would like to just see, or at least a consideration of perhaps swapping the side of the bay, because that's where all the activity is going to be. And at least if you're doing things in the back, which they said that's where they're going to decon the trucks, and if you have to put lights on, at least there's no one in the vacant property behind it. At least you wouldn't be bothering them. And it won't hurt sleep and other things. But ideally, having a different property altogether, I think would be a better solution. And we just want to put that out there and see, you know, have they considered that? Thanks.
Okay, yeah, thank you very much. And yeah, the information is very dense, but it has been noted down. And since we have the FAR representative on the line, and they may be able to respond to some of the concerns.
Karen, did you want to speak to the concern about the temporary station location? I know they've looked at a number of different sites.
Yeah, we have looked at different sites and they just don't have the capabilities that this site has. Like we have said, this is already previously a fire station. So obviously they have everything on site that's needed. All these other sites would be just raw land. So you'd have to do a lot of development to that land to get it to this point, basically.
But they're demolishing the old station, and they're also going.
And Sean, so according to Austin of PDK, and now you are in the process of revising the lighting plan. So would you like to share that in like a little more with the MCC on the lighting redesign?
Yeah, I know that lighting in the Night Skies initiative was a concern for you guys. So we have taken that into consideration, and all the light poles that we have right now have been taken out, and we are wall mounting lights onto the retaining walls instead. So they're at a lower height, so it won't spill over into the neighborhood houses. We have added 2 poles in the back where there are no houses as emergency lights, and those would be basically key activated. So they wouldn't just come on. Nobody would just accidentally turn them on. They would have to have someone with a key to turn them on during emergency situations. So like I said, all the lights are at lower levels, nothing spilling over into the neighborhood. Yeah, so that's our revive. And then like Glenn said, we replaced that one in the front with a bollard. So it's at a really low level as well.
Can you share cut sheets, little manufacturer sheets of each light?
Yes.
That shows all of the information and shows how it's shielded from glare and shielded from uplight?
Yes, we actually have a photometric plan, a lighting photometric plan that I can send you that shows how much light is being projected out of them.
That would be great, but we'd like more. We'd like,
In the cut sheets, as well. We
Great.
have cut sheets as well of the exact lighting fixtures that we are using.
Okay, and with little boxes checked, because sometimes there's many different models of the
Yeah.
same. You'll show us exactly what to expect. Thank you.
Yeah, we have a lighting consultant too, so we'll have him make sure everything's checked and all the boxes are checked.
Yeah, so as I mentioned earlier, county staff will work with the project team closely, and we will we'll receive that before the planning commission hearing. We'll post it on our website as part of the planning project plan, and now also I can send that plan set when I receive it to this MCC directly.
And I will get more information about the studies of the land for the that they studied for this fire station.
Can I
Good. Yeah.
follow that question about the lighting? Kara, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Put it really close.
So,
They fixed the microphone.
so my question is regarding the lighting. Has the consultant actually consulted with the Dark Skies Initiative?
Yes.
To determine the best practice?
We haven't, I have to get with the consultant if he actually has talked to that department. We had a meeting today and we went over the requirements for the night sky. If we're in the requirements for it. And so, but I can discuss further with him if he has had any discussion with the night sky initiative itself.
Yeah, because I think I've noticed sometimes people think that they're complying, but it's their interpretation of what those guidelines say. And it would be great if they actually went to the source and verified that the options they've chosen actually do comply.
Okay. I will get more information on that for sure.
Thank you.
Great. Other council questions?
I have one more.
Okay.
Would they be amenable if they're not going to move or if you absolutely will not change these plans, will you put a sound wall up, barrier between the houses and the fire station?
We will definitely do some research on it and make sure that we're good neighbors and that we can provide, some peace and quiet for them. But we will definitely do some more research before we just put this big old station up and not consider the neighbors.
Yeah, I'm just concerned that they really need to do testing and make sure that you are not causing hazards that are going to harm the people living next door. That's like really the most important thing, because
I understand that.
They're there to protect the community, not create problems for people. So I
understand that.
My concern is to have a balance.
Exactly.
I want to have a new station. I don't necessarily want to see a massive station that is overkill, if not necessary. And if it can be made smaller and a little further away from the houses, it might provide a level of safety, and especially with the sound. I mean, you could cause hearing loss for people,
I know.
Really
sorry to interrupt you, but I know one reason for the size of the station was for safety. And I know I know you guys are on the coast. If there's ever any kind of natural disaster, any kind of earthquake, a lot of personnel is going to have to be coming, and it's going to have to be coming to this station. So they're going to have to provide enough of a space for more personnel to come in if anything were ever to happen in that area.
But you can do that in a dormitory style living. These people have basically each person has their own bedroom, and you're talking about 7,000 square foot of living space. I mean, that's pretty, just to put it into perspective, the homes surrounding it are anywhere from 1,000 to 2,000 square feet each.
I understand that.
All the houses around it, it's smaller than just this. And I'm understanding what you're saying, but there are other stations that could house people on the coast, like El Granada, which is already existing. So I'm just saying, I think this is excessive within a neighborhood. Thanks.
Okay. Claire.
I appreciate your presentation. I do want to remind the council that we at the last minute got complete copies of the current plans, so they are in your email. It's a peer review, and I appreciate Ian's work on this. Just one quick thing that I really hope that you can coordinate with whoever's going to be building Cypress Point, because I think that your plans on when you're going to build it and how long it's going to take to build overlap almost exactly with their plans, and you're like about 2 blocks away. Going down the same unimproved, non-county maintained streets. So I can foresee lots of problems if you don't coordinate it.
We will look further into that. I will let my boss know for sure about that.
Thank you.
Other questions, comments from the council?
Questions for them, or are we going to have council discussion also?
I want to make sure all the questions are answered.
Okay, I have no questions. It's just to discuss.
Okay, yes.
I have sort of a follow-on question, and maybe this is not, well, I'll just ask the question. So the lighting at the El Granada station, is this an opportunity to reassess that lighting? Because as far as I know, neighbors are still upset about it.
Yeah, so my understanding is the El Granada station, that's a different project site, and that was approved and constructed a few years ago. So if you have any concerns regarding lighting at that location, you may contact our office separately, and then we can talk about that in a separate discussion.
Okay, thanks, Glenn.
Yeah, no problem. You can email our general inbox or reach out to me directly. So reach out to me directly, and I will find out who will be the most appropriate person to talk to regarding the excessive lighting at the El Granada station.
Great, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions?
Well, just point of information. I talked to Steve Monowitz about this a few years ago. And his claim was that everything was done appropriately, even though we have some evidence that, it wasn't dark sky compliant. And there's some wrinkles about what process was followed and not followed. So I appreciate that the neighbors are still upset with it. That's a fact.
Yeah, so as a planning staff, I'm not involved in that discussion, but yeah, again, feel free to reach out to me, then I'll find out if we can coordinate a meeting or come up with like a instruction for you to express your concerns.
Okay, do we have any questions from the community for Glenn or his team? Sorry.
Sid had her hand up. She still does.
Okay, Sid, go for it.
Thank you. Yeah, it was such a long discussion. I thank God I took notes because I would have forgotten by now. Glenn, could you say again where I heard Etheldor, but I didn't hear the cross street for the temporary station?
Yeah, so this one is like a little so it's the cross street is Etheldor and California Street.
California, okay.
Yeah,
So that's
Etheldor and
kind of where the sheriff's substation is, right?
Yeah, so here is the sheriff's substation. This the project site for the temporary station will be not right behind it, but one parcel from the sheriff's substation.
All right, and they're not using that building anymore. They just park cars there, right?
Which building are you referring to?
At the sheriff's substation. It used to be a more vibrant location, but Half Moon Bay kind of snuck them down there and put them up with their thing.
They're still there.
They are, because I was told they're not there. Okay, good to know.
I'm not familiar with that station, but if you have any questions related to like planning, like things that planning may do about the sheriff's substation, you may reach out to us separately. Honestly.
No, I wish it was more, occupied by sheriffs. That's all. So I went to the original planning meeting that they held at the current fire station, and everybody was telling them less red, and that was because Midpan also had red buildings, and it just seemed to stick out because we're in a coastal environment with ocean colors and stuff. So they said they were going to make it more natural stone color, but they didn't say they were going to take away that big white thing or leave the white thing, I guess is the other thing. So I think they've been hearing from the public that it is the public has already requested a more natural look and not so bright white. But that's my only two things. Thanks. And
Yeah,
of course, I'm concerned with lighting too. And I have a good friend that lives just behind one street down on Carlos Street. And I was having dinner at her house and you could see the fire trucks backing in and everything. So their headlights are going right in her living room, but they won't back in again on the new plan, I guess. Anyways, but big tall lights, depending on the degree of Kelvin in those light bulbs, that makes a big difference. Thank you.
Yeah, and now just want to add more about the color again. In their initial submittal, they use more red than the current submittal. So now we have seen substantial improvements in terms of like color selection for exterior materials and paint. So that's one thing I would like to acknowledge. And now also we have noted your concerns regarding the usage of white color on the second floor. So yeah, so again, we will have discussion internally and also have discussion with the fire staff to see if there's room for like additional improvements on color selection.
Yeah, again, you haven't shared any specifics with us right now, and I'm looking now at the plans that were sent to us, and there's no information on lighting on these plans.
It's gonna come.
Yeah, it will come.
Okay, well,
Yeah, the update is in process.
I will send up more lighting information for sure.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions from the public? No? Okay, so closing public comment on the presentation now. Where are we as a council on this?
I don't think we have to make any decisions.
Well,
Yes.
I would like to suggest that we agree what our follow through is going to be. And I appreciate Dan and reiterating our lighting concerns, those obvious. But I guess I find it strange that Ann's point about why didn't they locate the station in a different place? I mean, here they're going to have to create a temporary and tear it down. And we already know from the work we did on Cypress Point, that Carlos Street is only 13 feet wide. It's the narrowest spot. And all that off-street parking that we can expect now that they've approved Cypress Point. It just seems that they would be putting the fire station inside of a bottleneck. So, I mean, what follow-up are we going to do? And I don't know who the subcommittee is. Who's reviewing the lighting plan and what are we going to do about the location? We obviously have to appreciate and understand the studies they've already done about why they picked the location. And I don't have those facts. But it just off the top of my head seems like it would solve a couple of problems.
We have to be realistic too, because this is presumably going to the planning commission in less than a month.
Yeah.
We've had a number of back and forths on this. This isn't the first time any of this has been raised. I think it's perhaps I shouldn't say it. I think it's highly unlikely that they're going to find another location at this point, although I think that is the thing they should do. So I think we should be realistic in whatever choices we choose to make tonight. We should be clear and say what we really think, but we should also be realistic.
Well, what's frustrating is, they come here tonight to share, but they don't share the information that we want.
And we've requested
And
months
it's,
ago.
this is taking time. So the way I see this is all going to have to be revisited. So, to say that they're gonna, put it through planning commission in a month, come on, please. Is this how government works?
Apparently.
Kind of being jammed down. And so really, we gave, our comments with our last letter and we're looking to have a chance to really look at how the planning department is responding and have a minute to digest it and think about it instead of, waiting for further information and the whole time it's ticking along through the planning process.
Well, I would like to say that, first of all, I do appreciate the changes that they did make. They did make some significant changes. They're not everything we might have been, but they did make some. But then to summarize, Ann and Kimberly and I did send another follow-up comment thing to them last week, which you all got a copy of. And I think our bottom line was that this is not suitable for a residential neighborhood. And that's what we expressed on behalf of the council, and that's all we can do, I think.
Well, unfortunately, I'm looking at the letter we wrote in January, and we did not mention relocating the station as far as I can see.
This was an idea that Claire had, and we
It's a
did
good
not
idea.
originally say it, but because of where they wanted to put the temporary station, it is a far better location to have a permanent fire station there. And we're talking now, there's not even an ER, okay? So the response times for the fire station is extremely important. We have no health care. And even in Moss Beach, now it looks like the urgent care is not going to be at Seton Coastside, but instead down in Half Moon Bay. So possibly, we don't know, possibly. If that's the case, how are the people in the Midcoast supposed to get there? The fire station. Somebody, unless, well, I guess if you're critical, you have to go in an ambulance over the hill. But if, even just to have some basic, I don't know if they set bones at an urgent care or not, probably not. Maybe you have to go over the hill. But I mean, time is of the essence. If someone has a heart attack, someone has a stroke, they cannot be fiddling around in the middle of a neighborhood. They need to get to those patients immediately. How many accidents happen on Highway 1? Critical accidents. And the timing of getting the fire station, the firefighters out of the station and to that site is very important. And I'm just very concerned about the location, and I'm very concerned about the size of the station. I mean, we are now talking about taking basically the entire site from one side of the neighborhood. I mean, we're talking the neighbors, you're going to have a fire station right on top of you. And I'm very concerned about the hazards. There are very serious hazards. And that is going to be presented to the neighbors, of which I am one. I want to make that clear. Now, I am in support of firefighters, as my father is a retired firefighter. So I really want to reach a balance because I want this to work. I so want this to work. But I really feel that if there was any way to swap sites, and especially with the police, having the police situated where the firehouse is, if you could remodel it, that would give them a space. And you talk about emergency, they'd be able to use the bunk rooms. They could stay, they could be there in an emergency situation. It would also be a slightly larger, I think, property than what they currently have. I'm not sure, maybe it's similar, but it might be used more often because it is my understanding that they are more in Half Moon Bay. And a lot of times they're on the road. They have to they go all the way down to the Santa Cruz border. I don't think people realize that. So the police officers are not just right here, they're all over the coast, taking care of people. So I really feel like if that is at all a possibility, I think this is the time to explore it. And if there is a reason why that was not considered, or if it's not in consideration, if we could just please have a letter as to why, what made that not be a considered location, because it really is superior.
Go ahead.
As I recall, when we had a presentation quite a while ago, sometime early last year, the response to us about, finding other sites was that they didn't have the funding to do that they were constrained by funding to keep the site that they have because that was the most economically efficient choice. So,
So it's not the best, it's the cheapest. Is that what you're saying?
Budget.
So they could
That's the
build
cheapest.
it, but I'm saying this, so you can build a giant station? I mean, is that the case? Because you could shave off the station size slightly and get a better property.
Maybe it's time to go back and ask them, has that funding scenario changed? Are there now maybe other alternatives available in terms of funding that would be a possibility?
Yeah, and the county, I mean, we can get the county involved. I mean, there is some, I don't know exactly what kind of Measure K money there would be, but there may be Measure K, or there may be other funding. There is a lot of infrastructure funding that has come through the state, is coming through into the county. And perhaps, I mean, that could be explored as well because of what's going on with Cypress Point. And there is no plan that I know of for traffic lights or anything. There's no way to mitigate this traffic, and it will be a nightmare. And like I said, I really do have an issue with the size of the station for a little neighborhood. I really think that it to take an entire property and they needed variance, that it's not even suitable, clearly. I really think that has to be addressed. And, you know, when they came in, it was more about, we have to have El Granada Station at this site. That was the whole gist of it. We have to be able to drive through, and they made it fit. So to me, it was like kind of a, what did I say, a square peg in a circle. I mean, they made this fit, but boy, it really doesn't.
It's like 5 times the size of the neighboring structures.
Oh yeah, and look at what they're starting with. Look at what they're starting with and what they want to end with. We're talking 3 times what they currently have. And if you look at the temporary station, even there, they don't need that much square footage to function. And so it just concerns me. I'm just concerned at the overall size and, you know, what it's going to do to the community, you know, and particularly the neighbors, the hazards it presents. I want to see that addressed. And I think there are some options, and I just would like to see, you know, what was explored, and really that a location by Highway 1 could not be better. And if they do put a light in or some kind of signage, whether it's a stop sign or whatever it is, that would be really beneficial for them to be able to get right on the road, right out and help people.
So how we kind of have all the topics out on the table, pretty much, I think. What should we do?
Wait, did you want to?
So I just,
Yeah.
I agree. Let me just say this real quick.
Sorry.
I agree with everything you're saying. I'm in full support of everything that you're doing, and I like the idea that it's moved. But I just want to ask this one point as respectfully as possible. You're not moving the problem, which is the firehouse, too close to houses, to just too close to other houses, right?
Right.
No, oh, yeah, no,
Okay,
there's nobody there.
okay.
It's the coastside market.
No, there's one
Oh,
house.
I'm sorry, yes, there is an apartment complex that used to have a restaurant downstairs. I'm sorry, I am wrong, there's one.
Okay. But if it's,
But if they put the bay where the police station is, it would be completely very far away.
so that's the only thing I was thinking.
They're at the top of Ethel.
Don't move the same problem to some other place that has the same problem. If this is really a better spot, then it sounds like it's the best solution, right?
Yeah, yes, so there were only one would be affected. And more importantly, they'd be able to respond to calls more quickly.
It's a more commercialized area.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, it's the coastside market. Actually, it's right there and then right behind.
I kind of know where it is, but I just want
Oh.
to make public my thought.
Gotcha.
Okay.
All right, so now, from a process perspective, what is it we want to do from here?
Review the information they said they were gonna send us.
Okay, and then once we reviewed it, then what?
Well, it depends on the information.
Yeah, so this is Glenn speaking. So if you have any further comments regarding their latest plan, you may send them to me before the planning commission hearing. And yeah, so those correspondence will be considered by county, and also it will be shared with any interested parties.
So the planning commission hearing is already scheduled?
It has been tentatively scheduled for June 26th. So we are in the process of requesting our agenda. So it has not been finalized yet. So once the hearing date is determined and finalized, we will send out notifications to any interested parties.
Can I respectfully ask that you delay it? I mean, it really would have been nice if you brought all the information you have tonight so we could deal with it tonight, but we don't have the information, so we can't deal with it now.
Okay, yeah, so so your concern has been heard, and yeah, so we will discuss internally regarding your concern about delaying the project.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, basically, if we talk about it on the 12th, if we review the information before the 12th, because that would be our next meeting, then we can at least have a draft letter by the 12th, and then we can make whatever edits we want, and then finalize it on the 26th. But the 26th would be the next meeting that we have as a council after that. So if the planning commission meeting is also on the 26th, wouldn't really have time to synthesize thoughts and edit them in any way. So that would be the argument for pushing the planning meeting just at least past the 26th, basically.
Okay, yeah, that's been noted.
Okay, thank you.
Should we review some of the things that we should all be expecting? I just jotted down here. So we asked for the specification sheets for each light fixture. They said they'd send that, a site illumination sheet, expecting a sheet that shows where all the light fixtures will be. It may be the same sheet as the illumination sheet, but we certainly want to have the details as to where exactly they're all going to be. We're going to try to we're going to give a report on all of the possible other locations that were looked at and why they were not chosen. And the comments that the Planning Commission has already made, kind of a list of the concerns that came to the planning department outside of our concerns or general planning department concerns. That's all I have, unless there's any details on the generator and any other noise making equipment.
Okay, and then I think I have not had a chance yet to read this response letter that we got. So I think we all have to read all the stuff we already have. So let's make sure we do that before the next meeting. That's everybody's takeaway. Okay. Okay, so I think practical next step is we need to review a bunch of information, some of which we already have and some of which we are waiting on. And then we will, I guess we would need the working group to come up with a draft letter by the 12th so that we can discuss the draft letter, make whatever edits we want to make, and then finalize it and vote on it on the 26th. Does that sound correct? Okay. Great. All right. Anything else on this topic then? I want to keep Glenn here all night. We all good? Okay. All right. Glenn, thank you. I know that was also Kara, and Sean. Thank you for being here tonight and kind of engaging with us on this. I know it's kind of a meaty topic, a lot of wide range of concerns and issues to deal with. So I appreciate your patience with us.
Can we ask Kara if she has any final thoughts to share? I mean, this is our opportunity to be talking about this.
I mean, sure. I mean, if Glenn, Sean, Kara, if anybody has any final parting thoughts, go for it.
I have no final thoughts. Like I said, I'll take back the information that you guys said.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So same here. So yeah, so I have taken extensive notes about what you are concerned with the new fire station and the temporary fire station. So we will discuss internally. We'll work with the applicant and the project team. And yeah, so regarding like some like hot topics or like urgent issues, we are going to talk about them and now come up with like some justification or response as soon as possible and as much as possible. And now I will keep the MCC updated on the process of our review and also the decision-making process, such as the planning commission hearing schedule. So stay tuned. There's more to come.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it, Glenn.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
Thank you,
Thanks.
everyone.
Good night. Night, Kara.
Okay, that was a meaty topic. Okay, then that gets us on to communications. Always a fun topic. Kimberly, you want to lead us through this discussion?
For Claire,
I think that Kimberly should do it, except I'm not sure they can hear you.
There was a Zoom fix put in place that theoretically fixed the microphones for everybody.
So I'll start with saying that I have hard copies, if anybody wants, of the actual policies that exist and then what we're proposing. So for those who don't have it in front of them, we can have that if you want.
Got this.
It looks like the letter was removed from the website. It was, I didn't see it at home.
Well, it's not a letter, it's
Or notes.
an outline of.
Yeah.
It's on the website. I just brought it up from the website.
Okay, I looked at it earlier. I didn't see it.
It's there.
It's there. I intentionally tried to print it out. For some reason it wasn't there. I think it's 4:30.
Hey, good time for me to communicate. I can't continue as secretary. So that's my communication tonight. I am stepping down as secretary. Okay, yeah, not until I'm done tonight. But yeah.
Okay, that's later.
Yeah, we'll deal with that later tonight. Okay.
Okay, so, Claire and I and Dan, talked about communication issues after our last meeting, and there were two different things that we talked about. One was the issue of how council members represent themselves in public. And the other was an administrative function, which you'll find on as item number 6, which regards administrative practice on how we handle constituent communications and, you know, how we protect our constituents, and what are the practices that we should follow in handling their letters and emails to us. So the document that is posted has several. Sorry. Well, first I should say that in making these suggestions, we wanted to recognize that we want to maintain flexibility as much as possible in how the MCC operates. And this is not meant to be overly restrictive. All of these suggestions, we tried to mesh with what current policy is, and we suggested additional language where we felt something didn't exist that should. So
we also tried to incorporate things that we've gotten from county council.
Right. So there were a bunch of interpretations by county council that we read through, and we took from that things that are not currently in our policy. And we thought that, and some of those are because of recent changes over the last couple of years. So we added that in here too, to reflect what's current. Claire, do you have any comments that you want to make?
No, I think at some point we probably want to look at what we suggested in the context of what already exists, but I think the only other thing I want to say is that almost everything that we were suggesting, we're not pulling it out of the hat. We're not saying, oh, this is a nice idea. It's because of something that's happened in the last couple of years that we needed guidelines for. So these are supposed to be reality oriented. So go ahead.
Okay. So at that point, I guess what we'd like to do is just walk through each example and ask for comments or questions, and just hear what people think about these. Dan?
Can I have an opportunity to make a comment just like Claire?
Sure.
Okay. So, yeah. From my experience on the council, items like this is part of the Brown Act. And we have not, I don't think we've had a review of the Brown Act in the last 2 retreats. Historically, there would be a full review and opportunity to ask questions similar to this, so that we can all get from the source. There's a lot of things that we need to follow, and I don't think we're gonna publish the Brown Act, but, in the, what do we have here? In MCC policies, I mean, maybe it's already in there to follow it. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that I think some of this stuff is already covered somewhere. But I also do think with so many new council members, I think we really should have, even though it's not at the retreat, I think that we should have a review of the Brown Act, for everyone.
So is that,
And have the opportunity, to ask questions. That's, we could get it. I have some other comments on item 6, but I think that, well, anyway, that's it.
okay. So first, I think it's always a good idea to review the Brown Act, because as long as I've, been familiar with it, I still don't feel on stable ground in all kinds of situations. I think that's true of most people. But I think what we've tried to do here is not duplicate. We carefully read through what our current policies and procedures are, and then the most recent outbound communication procedures that I think were adopted before I came onto the council. And we were attempting to clarify things, as Claire said, related to specific situations that we encountered. So I don't think there's any, I hope there's no duplication here. I attempted not to do that. In some cases, I've suggested clearer wording, because some things were so open-ended that, you could interpret them all kinds of ways, and to be more specific, thought was better. I do recall that Tim Fox came at some point when I came onto the council and did talk to us about the Brown Act. Maybe that wasn't as comprehensive as what you're thinking of. But as I said, I'm always open, if anyone else thinks that we should do that, I think it can only be beneficial to review the Brown Act at any time. So I'm open to that. Does that address some of your concerns?
Yes.
Okay. So starting with number 1, these items A and B refer to the outbound communication policy, which I had never seen before now. And these particular items, I think, are not reflected in this policy. So we're proposing that we add this to the outbound communications policy. Do you want me to read these out, or are people okay to read them themselves? Do we just want to comment on them? What would be the best for?
Just go ahead and read them.
Okay. So item A is, if replying by email to a constituent message, do not copy your response to the entire council, especially if it involves a potential agenda item. Any other thoughts or responses should be discussed by the MCC in a public meeting. Item B is, if an email from a member of the community is sent to an individual council member, the constituent's email cannot be forwarded to the whole council, but you can ask the constituent to express their views directly to the whole council. Now, these are an interpretation of language in the Brown Act.
Yeah, these are specific to the Brown Act.
These
It
first
doesn't
two.
make any sense to me. It's crazy, but it's protecting, it's just making things public. You can't respond to 3
Right.
people in the
And
group, or it's
So
just
we were
public.
attempting to articulate it in a clearer way because we have experienced this on the council.
Okay. Not that it's bad to do these, it's just not, it's against the Brown Act. We're protecting
Correct.
ourselves from the Brown Act in these 2 points.
Correct.
Okay.
Great.
So Tim Fox and I had discussed this, and it's probably part of the email file you got. I'm unclear about the second sentence in item 1A.
Mhm.
Because it says any other thoughts and responses should be discussed by the MCC in a public meeting. I'm not sure what that relates to.
What that means is, in this case, somebody has sent a thing to the whole council saying, I don't like my trees or something. And one person, if one person responds to that person, you don't copy everybody about what they said.
I got
but-
that part.
But when we have a meeting, if everybody says, I saw that letter about the trees, what do we think about that? Then we can talk about that here.
My question is this. When you reply, are you only allowed to acknowledge it? Can you say, I agree with you? Can
No.
you say, have you looked at X, Y, and Z previous materials which have discussed this? What is the scope of what you're allowed to say in response to a constituent writing you or writing the group that you're replying to?
I think if
That's not perceived.
it's something that may come up as an agenda item, you probably should not go say, yeah, I agree with you. But you can give them directions as to where, informational kind of things.
So, just off the top of my head, can you say, I will make sure that we discuss at the council, this is a potential future agenda item? Or can you say, you should talk to, XYZ official at RCD or the Harbor District, or refer them to some other source where that material, is related or covered? It's
I
not
think you could
clear
say the
what you
first
can say.
thing, you could say the first thing as long as you didn't copy everybody else.
Well, we're only talking about replying one member, replying to one constituent. We've already agreed you can't mass reply, because that would be constituting a discussion. The question is, what are you allowed to say back to that person who said, a tree almost fell on my
So
house
are you-
in El Granada, what are you gonna do about it?
I think you can say anything if it's just you and one constituent.
So that's
That's what's
the
not
brown.
clear. It says any other thoughts or responses. What does that mean?
Any other thoughts and responses from other council members?
Okay, well, can we change the wording then so that it says,
That's the whole point. We want feedback so we can change things if they're
But
needed.
are you confusing Rob's rules with the Brown Act? Rob's rules doesn't.
I don't know if I'm confusing it or not.
Okay.
And to Dan and Kimberly's point, we did have Tim Fox come at a retreat, but we didn't go through the whole hour slideshow.
And we should be asking these specific questions.
We have. So I'm curious about the wording, the second sentence there. I do understand the first part of it.
I will defer to Claire because
Well, I think that part of our doing this tonight is to bring up these kinds of things that we may have misworded or misrepresented or not totally thought through, so that we can go back and, find where the problems are and fix them. So that's the place that needs more attention.
Okay, that's my thought. The second item, by the way, was a surprise to me. Tim Fox clearly said that. Item B is clear right in this now.
Mhm.
Does anyone else have any questions or comments on those two?
Nope.
Okay, moving right along. Number 2, this is proposed to add to the MCC policies and procedures document under communications, item D, email. It is okay to share news articles of interest to the community with the whole council, but only as one-way information without editorial comments, suggestions for action, or discussion. So for instance, if you wanted to share an article on
Dark skies.
you would just forward the article to the council with no comments. Is the best
Or
practice.
just FYI only.
Yeah.
Correct. Okay.
Yeah.
Are there any questions about that?
So wait a minute. Oh, to the community,
Correct.
not like if I say, oh, here's something cool, and I text you, I send, like, I do this from time to time, I'll say, hey, you might be interested in this, Gus. Am I allowed to do that?
Yeah, you texting me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a news article.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. Okay.
But this said with the whole council.
Well, either way.
Yes.
So then you might want to change the wording there, because is there one constraint for one council member forwarding a news article to one council member?
Well-
And a different constraint from one council member forwarding a news article to the entire council?
Well, if one council, if you send it to Gus and then Gus sends it to Kimberly and then you've got a serial communication.
Only if an opinion is.
I think Marisol has a comment.
Can I make a comment?
Yeah.
Okay,
Sure.
please.
Hi, this is Marisol. I think it's safe to say that you can just maybe perhaps ask that direct question to county council and say, can you define what the majority constitutes within this number that we have here? So you avoid sending to the majority, right?
Or if we don't.
If you want to, okay.
Actually, if you're gonna send something to Gus, unless it's just like a personal thing, if it's something of interest, why not send it to everybody?
Well, suppose you wanted to suggest a future agenda item.
You can't say anything like that.
Well, but wait a minute, how do we communicate with the chair what we want for future agendas? Is it only in the?
At the meeting.
Or are we allowed to bring up potential agenda items when a community member says a tree almost fell on my house?
Yes.
Okay, so there's the question.
You can bring it directly to the chair, you just can't discuss it with the majority of the council.
Okay, but so my point
think
is
it's
what's
just based around
ambiguous, what's ambiguous here is the case where you're sharing it with the entire council as opposed to one-way communication with another member. And then that might even be different than one-way communication with the chair, who I understand is
So,
typically allowed to entertain thoughts.
so I just wanted to distinguish that this is about basic information. This is not about discussing items that we, have on our agendas. This is about just sharing, I guess, extra, what the word is, the information that might be related to things, but more of a more general nature. So public information.
Okay, so something vanilla, I get it. But most often people want to share things because they're candidates for discussion.
That they're candidates for discussion, but they cannot be discussed
Right.
until we get here.
So the question is, can you forward something to the chair and say this should be a candidate for discussion or an agenda?
I would
you
think
can.
that you can,
Yeah.
as long as you
Individually.
don't discuss it.
With
you
the
know,
other
more-
council members, we got
right.
that. So I'm just asking for the wording to be a little more elaborate here.
Okay, like the chair is like a protected island that can receive things that.
Well, that's what I've been counsel over the years.
Yeah, okay.
So do we think then we need to change this, or is it okay as it is?
To elaborate on what you can share with the chair. And maybe you might as well go ahead and say what you just said. You cannot discuss these items with other council members.
It just seems to me that if we all had a stronger fundamental understanding of the Brown Act, some of these answers would just be automatic. And I think that for an efficient process, that we would be better off going through this item by item and coming to a conclusion after we have the review. And if we want to write out some specific questions to get clarified, yes. But I would recommend, I don't know, spirit of time, maybe go through each item, maybe a little quicker, and just say, hey, I understand the concern. Let's get,
So humor us, let's keep going then.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I would disagree with the part in that I think several of us do have a fairly deep set of experience and debates on the Brown Act. And I think it's very valuable what you've done here to try and codify this. And I think it's worth the time. And whether we do a full review of the Brown Act as well, fine.
I keep hearing,
Keep going.
I keep hearing the term, I think this, I think that, or does this, can we do that? I keep hearing these, so.
Well, a lot of this tries to answer it. What if we just read through it? And if anybody says, oh my God, this is horrible, then jump in. But otherwise we'll just keep reading.
Okay, all right. So then I'm going to item 2B, under communications, item E, individual council member communications on public matters. There are 3 things here, and we recognize that the wording may not be perfect, so we're open to other wording, but the first one is refrain from commenting on statements made by other council members on social media, websites, or in public settings. The second one is council members may communicate with constituents via social media. However, they cannot interact with other members of the MCC on social media. For example, council members may not use social media to comment on statements or posts made by other council members.
And item number 3 is concerns that a council member's public statements are not compliant with MCC policy or the Brown Act should be brought to the MCC chair and if warranted, discussed at an MCC public meeting.
I think item 1B should, when it says or in public settings, it should say or in public settings outside of MCC meetings.
Okay.
Okay, noted. Item C, 2C, under communications, add a new item H, MCC meeting norms. And there could be other things that we might want to go under these. And this is not actually totally related to the Brown Act. This is more about how we operate. So the MCC strives to maintain an atmosphere of respect in public meetings. Council members and meeting attendees are requested not to cast aspersions on the character, habits, or intentions of any member of the county administration, the public, or the council members. And I'll just say here that as we were thinking about this, I realized, I've done this. Many of us probably have. We maybe didn't intend to, but it does happen. And so I think this is a really important thing for awareness sake. And, if there are other things that can kind of keep us at our best behavior, I would encourage you to suggest them.
I think this is a good addition. we don't like Oxford commas.
I love Oxford commas.
I love Oxford commas too.
Keep it in there.
It's hurting me, but I understand it. I know that's a divisive issue.
I don't even know what you're talking about.
Let's just can we keep going here?
Yeah, Marisol, you look like you might have something to say.
No, I have experience with writing norms in the past, so if
Okay.
you want to pick my brain, I don't mind.
That would be
I
great.
appreciate that.
Good.
So moving on to number 3, under communications, add a new section entitled MCC Communications with the County. And this reflects some of, what's happened over the past year. Item A is all requests to county council should be initiated by the MCC chair or by someone officially authorized by the chair. Every effort should be made to ensure that questions to the county council are important and necessary and cannot be addressed in any other way. All responses from the county council shall be archived and available to the entire MCC. And I want to flag that last part. What we've tended to do up to this point is one person has collected the answers that they receive, and then the rest of us never see it or we aren't aware of it. And so we're proposing that we actually archive those responses so that we don't duplicate for the county council and cause more work.
I would just question, I agree with your idea there, but I seem to recall Tim Fox telling us we couldn't discuss advice of counsel and disclose it publicly.
This was actually his suggestion.
Well, then, good, then let's take it.
Okay. Item B, when individual council members pursue issues that are of interest to them in the hopes of either eventually bringing an agenda item or following an ongoing issue like transportation, there should be some sort of oversight or direction from the council and or the chair to ensure that requests made to other bodies or individuals are not overwhelming or reflect negatively on the MCC. And I put the rationale there below. This can cause problems when agencies interpret outreach to them by individual council members and as an expression of the desires of the council as a whole. And when those agencies follow up with other members of the council who know nothing about the issue or who to refer to, it amplifies confusion. It may cause additional work and demands on staff time and reflects poorly on the MCC.
So what's ambiguous here is some sort of oversight. And I do appreciate that council members have different interests and maybe pursuing things on their own. And I don't want to stifle that initiative. My question is, do you want to go so far as to require them to copy the chair or advise the chair of what they're doing? Gus, you're aware that several things have been coming up recently, and I've been copying you on stormwater issues, right?
Yeah, no, I think that's, I don't think anyone on this council should ping anybody in the county without either copying me or just routing it through me.
Right.
It's probably going to get a better response, honestly, if it comes through me, but at least tell me that you're doing it. I mean, does it seem reasonable?
Or bring it up at the council activities,
Both,
Sure.
both.
but basically, yeah, share so everybody knows.
Yeah.
So I would amend this to say, should copy the chair. Now, the question about at what point in time the chair wishes to pre-approve everything. That might be a bigger burden, depending on the routine nature of what could be going on.
There should be no surprises to the chair. There should be no surprises to the council.
Right.
Can I give a real world example to this and you tell me if I'm in trouble or not?
You're totally in trouble, Scott.
So they had a non-public meeting over in Quarry Park at the Burn. Right? It wasn't publicly announced, but everybody was there and it was on the news. And so I as a person, I went over there and I know Nicholas. I talked to him. I wasn't dressed like this. I was dressed like the normal me, so I wasn't representing anything special. And we talked about the burn, what I thought about it, and then I talked to a lot of other high-level people over there. And then I told you guys that I was there doing this, and I tried to send you pictures, I think.
Yeah, you did.
Am I in trouble for that? Because Nicholas knows I'm on this.
Right.
But do I have to say to him, hey, I'm not an MC, I'm not representing the MC, I'm representing the neighbor, I'm just here because I'm in the neighborhood. So,
Did you ask for any action from Nicholas?
I don't think so. I asked him why, I asked why and what are you doing? So I could come back to you guys and say, I hear some information about what's going on in Quarry Farm. Is that okay?
I think that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that's a key distinction that you just made, though. There's a difference between communicating, asking for information and asking for action. And asking for action is
Yeah.
definitely something that should be prohibited without the chairs involved.
Well, asking for information, if it's like volumes of information is different from, hey, what are you doing?
Well, what's going on here? How long is it
Yeah.
gonna take?
Well, so an
There's three of
action,
them now.
so an action request for information would be if you ask Nicholas for a 50-page report on that.
So my concern is, I don't want to, I'm not sure if I even understand when I'm an MCC member or I'm just a regular person.
We're getting into that.
Oh, good.
Because you're coming right along.
So
I'm your straight man for now.
Way to anticipate.
Okay. It's important to me because people recognize me and am I supposed to be political or myself?
well,
Right.
I think it says in the procedures that and policies that already exist that we should be aware that people recognize us as council members
Okay.
and to act accordingly, right? So
Okay.
Unless you're at a party, then you have to do it.
Cut into some fun time, I guess, but whatever.
You're apparently the guy to hang out with.
okay, so to item number 4, add the following language to the MCC policies and procedures under the section committee creation policies. If a framework for addressing a certain matter has been established by the MCC, no other member of the council should involve themselves in that matter outside a regular meeting, especially by correspondence.
So if I could,
Sure.
I see this as potentially violating freedom of speech. And I seem to recall we once had a situation where we formed 2 teams of 3 people to research an issue separately, but to come to the meeting with a different.
Was that 3 different aspects of an
2
issue?
different, same
There were
issue,
specific
same issue,
assignments.
same issue, 2 different teams of people were assigned to research it. So I that's to say then, for instance, you guys are on the fire station thing, right? I didn't do anything, but suppose I wanted to do some research.
I think this
I
is
can involve myself in that matter. Why can't I do web research on the construction of fire stations? Why? Now, maybe I can't write to county people and represent that I'm working on it for the MCC.
Correct.
But why are you preventing people from doing background homework if Dan wants to do more research on dark sky lighting or whatever.
I don't think we are.
Well, it's not worded, it just says
Yeah,
involve themselves in that manner. Okay, that's.
maybe you can give some examples of what you mean. I mean, what,
Um,
means you shouldn't involve yourself in the official business, something like that.
Or make a statement to the same people that this one group is working to interface with. Yourself before the meeting happens.
Or maybe you say should only participate as an individual and not a member of the council in any activity.
That I think should have been in here. I think that part should be rewritten.
Okay. So
Okay, so-
with that change, I'd be fine with this.
Can you repeat that?
Should only involve themselves as an individual and not as a member of the council in any research or activities they take.
Oh, let me give an example.
I'm happy to toss words later.
Dan?
So hypothetical. We don't all, as a council, we don't all agree on a particular issue.
Mm-hmm.
You know, let's say there's a letter or some, you know, and the majority wins. But the minority, you know, still has the issue. Now, how would that apply?
That's kind of section 5.
I would say, you know, the minority could still talk to other people in the community that feel the same way or whatever, and continue in that, or still research options, or, you know, some way around it. Yes.
I think the intent of this was
problem there?
basically to say that if some group of people has been assigned some task for the MCC, then the other people on the council shouldn't interfere with it until we get to a meeting. At which point they can everybody can express their opinions at the meeting, but there shouldn't be people doing unruns around things.
Because it could take you more than 3.
Well,
That makes
sometimes
you-
there's
that's a
time
problem.
restraints.
Well, but if you're not coordinating with the 3, if you're acting independently, that's allowed.
It's not allowed to go to the agency that these people are supposed to be interacting with, and
Well, then you better clarify that.
I don't know. I think that's a Tim Fox question.
Yeah.
Did Tim get a chance? He read all this stuff and agree with it?
No,
Oh, okay. Well, then I would ask,
this was,
besides the clarification we already provided in item 4, I would ask what he thinks about how he's
these were
doing.
all drafted from his advice,
Mhm.
written advice. And I will point out that item number 4 is about committee creation specifically.
Item number 4 is about what?
It's about committee creation specifically, so anything beyond that. So as Claire said, if you establish a committee of 3 people to work on something, and then somebody else goes out and works in parallel and communicates, you know, on behalf of the council, maybe to an agency or another body, then that sort of muddies the line between the 3 people. It kind of creates that four-way communication.
No,
I agree this needs to be reworked.
okay, and I would agree with what she just said about you cannot represent that you're part of the MCC working on an issue if you're not on that committee. I completely agree with that. And I think we have a recent example of problems that have been caused by people going around, you know, saying they're representing the MCC. So I understand that. But I do think there has to be the ability for a member of a council who knows that there's a team he or she's not on, working on something, to do their own research and to even write up their own opinions to bring to the council.
Absolutely. That's the meeting. You can do
perfectly
anything you
fine.
want.
Yeah.
May I offer some clarification?
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. The piece, this is separate from your active discussion, but the piece in the policies and procedures document, committee creating policies. Laura and I did that, and it was in reaction to, this is about creating a formal committee. And as opposed to what the current council does, which is ad hoc committees, never has a quorum. The committee just sort of works offline. And so you may want to have some kind of policy
that you're working with, but you're talking about your ad hoc committees. This section of the policies and procedure documents about forming formal committees, which have to have published agendas, and all of that. And the problem it was reacting to was a council member forming a committee and just going off on his own with a neighborhood group and supporting whatever they wanted to do. And it really had nothing to do with the council. And so this procedure was set up to curtail that. And of course, it's rather onerous, and no formal committees were ever formed after that, except the Coastal Trail Committee that Len had, and he was willing to do that extra work. So just wanted to clarify that. Thanks.
Oh, that's so helpful, Lisa, because I read that and I didn't understand that at all. So,
Well, her point stands, but I do think it's worth having this clarification even for the ad hoc committees and working groups or whatever we call them. I still think there's value.
It's just probably should be in its own separate section. I probably not.
Yeah, maybe it doesn't
Under-
relate to committee creation, but maybe it does, but at least
I think we change this to
should
like
speak to the ad hoc.
standing committee.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
put the word standing in front of this and then do ad hoc committees as a separate section below that.
that's great. That's a great suggestion. Moving on to number 5. So this is sort of how we started. To clarify the following issues which overlap both with the MCC policies and procedures and the outbound communications policy. So while council members have a right to comment on issues as individuals, any personal comments must be clearly stated in a way that cannot be construed as or give the appearance of speaking for the MCC. When council members speak publicly as individuals, it is often perceived as speaking for the MCC, especially in writing. The following guidelines are proposed for individual written comments. A letter or email must contain a clear disclaimer that the individual is speaking as an individual and not on behalf of the MCC. The heading and signature of the letter or email should not contain MCC identifying information. An individual may establish their credentials in the body of the letter with a statement like, I am a member of the MCC, the Rotary Club, and the Friends of Butterflies organization. I am writing as an individual, and these comments are my own. Individual comments should not be focused on the processes and statements of the MCC, regardless of support for or disagreement with an MCC decision. It is okay to say that my personal view is X, but not to say, I think that the MCC made a mistake when they approved position Y, or I am providing an interpretation of the MCC's view. Individual comment letters and emails should not be sent on MCC letterhead or sent from an MCC email address or the individual's email address used for MCC business. So that's a lot. And these things are suggested as clarity because there has been a lot of confusion and stepping over the line in terms of this particular item. And I want to call your attention particularly to this second bullet where we say that the heading and signature of the letter or email should not contain identifying information. Often council members will sign a letter with their affiliation. And what we're suggesting here is a change to that, because when you sign as an MCC council member, you're essentially representing the council and not yourself.
Okay, so I would like to endorse most of this, and I do understand that I caused some of this problem. But I do want to just point out, I have in my signature Midcoast Community Council - Vice Chair, parenthesis, writing as an individual. Now, when I send a normal email out to people asking for information or whatever, I find that is helpful context and also helps me get information. So you're recommending against that. So I could, and well, then what emails would I send?
So what I would suggest, like this says, is that in your email, you state if it's important and it has an impact on the intent of what you're trying to do. So I would ask first, what is your intent by identifying your affiliation? And then you could say in the letter, I'm an MCC council member, but I'm interested in this as an individual. And, you establish the relationship, but you're not speaking for the council.
So on the other hand, if you're working on an item that you're putting together for the agenda, I would think that and you need some information to put that agenda item together, then you probably would use your
No,
MCC.
that's a good point, because
Correct.
just recently, Joe Issel is taking over for Noah Katz. He's working on the Second Street Montero stormwater problems. I heard he had done something through members of the community, and I wrote Joe and I said, can I have a copy? And I used the signature. I don't really find that inappropriate.
Claire, do you want to respond to that?
Well, that particular case, I don't really know where that stands, if that's something.
You
that-
sent me the slides.
No. If that particular project that you're working on is something that Gus has said, yes, let's work on this.
Well, it is part of the stormwater report I'm working on.
Well, the stormwater report is so big.
Well, so that's my concern. My concern is, it seems like there's nothing wrong with writing, let's say we're writing Marisol. And we're saying, blah, 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 what's happening about this? Are we allowed to have a signature?
I mean, it's kind of a sniff test, right? Certainly if you're writing Marisol and she knows what we do on the council, if it's an informational request or something to make that clear, I think you maybe you could.
So let me ask this question. If you write a letter on MCC letterhead and send it to somebody, or you write a letter to somebody with no designation that you're on the MCC, do you believe that it will motivate that person's behavior?
Exactly.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
there's the problem.
That's exactly.
They know
the
you're on
point.
the MCC, they're going to behave differently than you're a private person. Right?
And if you're a private person, you need to forego that. Because, you're a private person, you're not speaking on as
Right.
FCC members.
So
So
let me
that's-
just clarify this. It's clear we should not be writing, saying we're from the MCC on the letterhead or any of that stuff. That's clearly a violation. But the idea that you have your signature and it says, I'm treasurer, you're writing the bank. Right, I'm treasurer, writing as
Yes.
an individual.
But he's not going to write to the bank saying some opinion that he has on some issue. He's going to be writing about bank stuff.
Okay,
It's
so
gonna
what
be
was the
official business.
clarification that
I just
you guys
wonder,
came up with?
is it important that is the problem that the person's going to respond differently if they know they think you're representing the MCC or they think you're not?
I would suggest that members of.
And that's I don't know if it's important. I'm just asking the question.
Okay, I would suggest that members of the planning department or parks are more likely to reply when they see you're a member of the MCC, whereas they might not. If like I'm complaining about the lights at El Granada Fire
Well-
Station again,
Then again, that begs the question of, are you writing to represent the MCC in what you're doing? Or is it just you writing to them as an individual?
it says in the signature, I'm writing as an individual.
Then,
But that's not okay.
yeah.
Because
I-
as soon as they see FCC, people don't read. People just get installed.
So we take it out of the
You
signature.
want to go for it? Here you go.
Well, may I suggest, Greg, I think if we just want to just clear the waters with that hypothetical, because it's kind of like, working with a supervisor, that's always something, right, that we consider like as supervisors' aides when I'm here as a person and you see me in Half Moon Bay versus when you see me on duty, right, or working with the supervisor. So I think it's something worth exploring with Tim, or just kind of clearing the waters on it. So you feel like you're not feeling like your freedom of speech is being violated.
Otherwise, I think we're just wasting time, because I have an issue with it. I think it should be addressed and we should just move on. I would really like to get out of here early tonight, as early as possible.
I'm wrapping it up, Dan. I just want to say that this has been a problem at various instances, not just with the one that Greg mentioned. And I know with other organizations, and this is my own experience, it's a bright line that when you represent yourself as an individual, you do not sign as, you know, X from Friends of Clean Air.
Go both ways, in
Um,
my opinion, go both ways.
so that's what
You
we're,
are a council member.
right. And I
You're
can say
upfront
that,
saying, hey, this is from I'm speaking as an individual,
right.
but I am a council member.
And you can
But
say that. You can
that-
write that in your letter. I am a member of the MCC and
Instead of putting.
I'm speaking as.
What's
You
the
have to
difference?
write it in your letter. Could you just write from your personal email and not indicate your connection?
Absolutely.
That would be my best practice, that you don't indicate it at all. That is what I do. Because I think it's all about what your intent is, right? If you want to get your personal opinion out there, then you're representing yourself. And if you are representing the council or some other organization, then you want to put that in there because you're speaking on behalf of them. You know, if you're trying to speak to your credibility and you want to list all the organizations that you're affiliated with in the body of the letter, I don't see a problem with that.
I do that in the signature.
But, you know, it's a different, it comes across differently. So.
Can I make a suggestion process wise here?
Mhm.
Then when we finish this, that you and I go back to the drawing board, spruce up the language, send it to Tim Fox, ask him if he can either in person or on email or in some way comment on this and you know, give us his seal of approval or not.
Yeah.
Does that seem like a plan?
I think that's a great plan with Gus's permission.
Sure. And do we have the chair's permission to do that?
Yeah, can you just send me the draft before you send it to Tim?
Yes.
Alternatively, you could give a complete, you know, a significant overview of the Brown Act, and then during that or after that, we can go over one at a time. And for his,
I take your point. What concerns me, Dan, is that I've been aware of the Brown Act for years, and I still have moments where there are things I don't, you know, quite feel comfortable with. So no matter how familiar you are with it, you can still make mistakes. And what we've
that's a
done
gift.
here, is try to target where the mistakes happen most often so that we can raise the awareness.
I get it, but I think that there's, I'm not gonna say I agree 100% with every part of this. I think the most efficient way to do it would be, number one, I mean, we could go in all thinking, oh, well, I already know what the Brown Act is. I don't need to listen to it again. We could say that, but we've got new councils, you learn something new every time. It's reinforced.
Mhm.
And I think it's the way to handle this.
Yeah.
Because most of this is related to that.
So
And-
I'm totally open to that. But I think, you know, underlining the bright line items that continue to rise to the top.
Right, but
just
you did
really
that.
help.
We're not quite finished. We're
Yeah,
almost
sorry,
finished.
We're 5 of 6 done now.
Yeah,
We just get on to
okay.
number 6.
No, right,
So-
but you've already, you just recommended a process after this. And I just threw out an alternative. Instead of just taking it.
We'll
two people-
communicate with Tim.
Yeah, but have Tim come here to communicate with all of us.
Yes,
Okay,
exactly.
Okay, good.
Okay. So, item number 6 are the issues that Dan raised at the last meeting. The following items are in regard to MCC administrative practice and policy. Number A is the question was raised about best practice for protecting contact information of constituents when public comment letters are received by the MCC. So we're proposing the following 2 items. One is public comment letters will not be shared or posted with email addresses, phone numbers, or other personal contact information. All personal contact information will be redacted or removed. Number 2, community members have the option to request that their written public comments not be shared publicly.
Okay, I have one problem with that, which is anytime somebody emails us, it is already public.
Right, I have the
It's
same
not-
reaction.
we've
I have the
gone
same
over
reaction.
that.
Now,
That's right.
Not true.
They can't, it
It
is
is true.
Let me please explain. There's something called the Freedom of Information Act, right? And that that applies here. That not just anybody. They have to go through a step to get that information. And there's a record of that step and who has requested it.
Yeah, well, what I don't
Okay,
understand.
but what you're proposing,
You know, the answer.
100% bypasses all of that.
No,
So this is the issue that I,
6A2, right? That's what we're talking.
to streamline the conversation, please.
Yeah,
I don't,
sorry, go ahead.
I don't think the issue is, we've agreed that we're not gonna forward the emails, so that's not the issue. The issue is, on a regular, routine, habitual basis, to just go ahead and just, share, everything that is said, on an issue from the community to us, and just go ahead and dump it on the letter and have it out there for anybody to see. I think that, like I've said, there's really no benefit of that. And there's a small risk. Why take the risk? There's just no reason.
Okay, now I would like
We've
to
never
talk-
done it
Dan,
before.
I'd like to talk now. So I am not suggesting that I'm not pushing back on the idea of redacting the contact information. What I am saying is this should not, this wording would lead me, if I remember the public, to believe that I have the option to not have my stuff be public through a FOIA
Okay,
request.
I didn't write this.
Yeah, I
I'm
know.
trying to focus what the issue is.
I know.
Please let Marisol speak.
Yes.
I think she can answer this.
No, I think what you're saying, Gus, is correct. And also, I think what you're also mentioning, Dan, is that in addition to what Gus is stating, I think you're affirming by your comment that there is such a thing as a FOIA request. There's a process to follow it, right? When you make the request. So in reality, I think it's kind of like the same thing. It is subject to public record. So just wanted to support that comment.
So my only question is about 6A2. What is it that they can request? They could certainly request that their contact information not be shared publicly. And we already are saying in 6A1 that we are gonna have a practice of suppressing that. But other people have said, yes, you can share my contact information. And in fact, they want to be known to the community as having made that contact because they want to connect with others with whom they might work. So you have to allow that possibility. What I don't understand on the wording on 6A2 is the option to they can make a public comment and not have it be public. I don't get that.
So
We gotta take it
I
one
will-
at a time.
I will say that this was drafted in response to Dan's concerns at the last meeting. And so what my thinking was here was that the MCC could establish its own operating procedures, but that doesn't exempt us from what the legal requirements are. And those legal requirements are actually put part of this policy that we already have. So it says in this policy, when a public request is made, the rule does not apply. And I think it's also reiterated somewhere else in this other document
So-
as well.
Before we go any further, I just want to be very clear, Gus and Greg. This language here doesn't reflect my request. It's separate. There are some things in there that I'm not taking issue on. So, please hear. Well, yes, I'm just one of the three, but this, there's things that,
If you think that I misrepresented what you were saying, we can certainly strike these, or maybe we don't need these.
well, Greg's taking issue on something that I don't have an issue with. That's the problem.
I don't think you need to strike 6A1. I think 6A2 needs significant
6A2.
rework.
Yeah, 6A2 needs work.
Okay.
Okay.
B.
Yeah.
Do you have one other comment?
Yeah, on two, yeah, okay, needs work, I'm interested, I don't know, I wouldn't have put it in there. But, if a, community member certainly wants their message read in public and included in any further, and that's in the body of of course, I'm not gonna get in the way of that. I'm talking about people that, are, they might not be at that level. And I think that we want to encourage more participation and build a respect with our community. So
Okay. So I'm gonna just cover the last two items and then we can wrap this up. B is community members may request that the MCC read their written comments during the public comment period at a meeting. Written public comments will only be read during a meeting if specifically requested and if time allows. In the event that a significant number of written public comments are received, the MCC may either summarize main points or post the letters for the public to read in advance of the meeting, subject to non-disclosure of contact information as mentioned in item 6A1. And then C, written public comments are encouraged to be no longer than 1 page in length or the equivalent of 3 minutes of verbal public comment if possible. This item C was a wish list for us because it's much easier if we have, hundreds of comments to read, that they be as short and to the point as possible. It's much easier to be able to read them. So we can modify that as needed.
I have no problems with you. So there's two things that this policy does not treat. One is, you may remember I used to write frequent articles. Think about that. I'm not asking us to discuss it now. I haven't written articles in Coastside Buzz in a long time, but I used to express my opinion frequently in public.
As a person,
Yes, and it
individual?
says right in the bottom, he's a member of the MCC, but these are his personal opinions. It's right in the.
This is off topic, isn't it?
No, I just want to make sure that's communication in a way, right? And we even brought this up before. I remember discussing this a little bit with Gus. It also doesn't address an efficiency issue, which I brought up with Don Horsley and with Tim Fox before. People often have opinions about things and they don't get to express them before the meeting so that people can read them. And I remember Tim saying it was okay to post materials connected to an agenda topic on the website before a meeting. So that would mean, let's hypothetically say, I was wildly enthusiastic about the firehouse being where it is. And I had done some research and decided, I wanted to support the current plan. Then I should be allowed to prepare that and have it posted along with the other materials on the website, not to discuss it with the other members until the public meeting, but people have the opportunity to read it before the meeting, just as they would read the other materials prepared for the agenda. So think about that.
Are you saying that those materials would be your individual opinion and not
Yes.
the opinion of the MCC?
Yes.
So my response to that is that if we did that for you, would that not mean that we would have to do that for every individual who wanted to post something?
Any member of the council.
Which would be deliberating before the event, but.
Correct.
But
Would be
let's
deliberating.
let's run it by Tim. Let's put it in here.
I thought he cleared that, just so you know. And it gets back to the inefficiency of the Brown Act. You don't have staff. And what Don told me, and I'm going to paraphrase it, not direct quote him, but you ever notice how many things are on the county board of supervisors on consent agenda? It's because the staffs of all the different supervisors have already talked to each other and they all know what their opinions are and where they're going to disagree.
There's a lot more to it than that.
So you see what I'm saying? So we don't have the opportunity to share the staff reports that normally would go into preparing for an agenda because we don't have the staff.
We just don't.
So what I'm suggesting is that on those occasions where somebody feels compelled to write something up, they'd be allowed to present it and have it posted on the website for everybody to read in advance.
I disagree, but we can put it into this thing and
We should just ask
like
them. Thank you.
And I would say that, the staff process on the end, like the city staff process or a county staff process, is somewhat defined. And so I don't think that there are certain communications between staff when preparing materials that are not allowed. So maybe Marisol can speak.
Yeah, no, as a staff member, I can tell you that we are very conscientious about the Brown Act and it's a daily thing for us. So for sure.
So just out of curiosity, if you, not you, but let's say somebody from, let's say Parks, meets with one supervisor and sort of talks with them about some issues.
There's limitations.
They can, okay,
There's
so what are they?
limitations.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
They can't do a serial meeting.
Well, there's limitations on the people they're talking to, so, I mean, I can't give you an exact
Yeah.
hypothetical, but there definitely are limitations that are applied to the conversations.
So the same staff person can't talk to all the supervisors about the same issue.
Right,
Line them
it
all
just
up.
depends on it depends on who you started the conversation, right? So you have to be careful of those conversations as well. We are conscientious about the Brown Act.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I would just add that I don't think as Claire said, to me, that crosses a line, posting an individual opinion. Means that you're getting into the territory of, if we post one, why wouldn't we post all? And then we're deliberating as a council on a website.
You're not deliberating, you're just posting your opinion, you're not discussing.
No, well.
But we're
no,
not
it's the same.
supposed to discuss our opinions until we get into this room together.
Well,
I think
Right,
that's a
right, fundamentally, yes, that's
Right,
the,
Tim.
We'll let them deal with that one.
Okay.
I think it was great that you did this.
Thank you.
Yes, I also think it's great that you did this hard work doing that kind of stuff. Wow. Yes, Margot.
I do have one last announcement that I didn't emphasize when I was giving my comments in the beginning. May I? Okay. The supervisor is going to be going to San Luis Obispo on June 20th for the next CPUC meeting, and that is the meeting where they're going to decide, or the judge will decide on the proposed decision. So that's going to be June 20th. I believe it starts at 9.
This is the decision on
The AT&T.
AT&T.
Yeah.
Landline issue.
The landline issue. The last
Not the
carrier.
fire issue.
Yeah, the last carrier of resort.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Okay, so you guys are gonna rework some
And thanks
things.
Supervisor Mueller for us.
Send me a draft. When you think you have it done, I will send it on to Tim and see what he has to say about it. And then we'll go from there.
no, we're not gonna have him come here
We may,
and then ask the
we
question
may.
as a body.
We'll see what he
So if
says.
there's any particular misunderstanding or nuances that we could ask those specific questions, so that in a fashion that we could all hear at the same time to reinforce
I
each
will
other's understanding.
ask him whether he feels he needs to come here. I am not gonna just say.
Not if he
"Come here."
needs, we are requesting that he does come here because we haven't had. We need
I don't think it's clear yet that we need to request that. Let's see what happens with it, because if he comes back and says.
you don't think
a lot
after
of
all of
stuff-
this, you truly don't think that we need a stronger understanding of the Brown
I
Act?
think to
Honestly?
Kingsley's point, like I've also, because I'm on a couple other countywide where I've sat through like at least half a dozen Brown Act presentations. And you still end up having these conversations. Like we could have he could come here every week and we would still be asking these kinds of questions. It's just.
It's not worth it. You're saying it's not worth it. I hear you.
I'm
I
saying.
believe differently. I believe especially for the, newer council members, maybe, and for myself. I would like to see it. I would like to ask these specific questions.
Point of
And
order.
maybe we could do it in a, not a long one like you've been, but a more of that's the idea, more of a condensed. And then we take these out and go through them one at a time and get the clear answers. We'll already have a more fundamental, more broad understanding, and then we'll accept these better.
I'm going to allow Tim to take a look at them on his own time first, which I think is far more efficient for him, and I want to be very respectful of his time. Yes, Greg.
Point of order, do we want to honor Dan's request to stop the meeting early and defer subsequent agenda items or not? I'm happy to stay.
Let's just do the finance things take like 3 minutes.
Share your screen right now with the ledger.
You got the ledger. Did we send you the ledger?
Yeah,
The ledger was not readable.
try it again.
I did.
Oh,
Oh, you mean that spreadsheet?
yeah.
Oh, wait a minute, then that might work. Spreadsheet shared with me the bank account.
Excuse me.
Okay, it has several worksheets.
Yeah. Go to
No,
23, 24.
And in this,
Not the sum.
I know, I got you, but so.
Right there.
Right there.
Yes, right there. Okay. This is representative of our fiscal year we're in currently. It matches our bank statement perfectly. We have some reoccurring costs like MailChimp, and the mailbox and the Zoom. They're not all on this, but if you go to, you don't have to right now, but we're just reviewing this. Those are represented in the previous year. If you want to see what our reoccurring charges are, some of them they're like Squarespace for the website. And you can see PO Box in there, and then a Zoom fee. The Zoom fee's in there somewhere too. Those are all our reoccurring costs. We have some non-reoccurring costs that come up, like masks and things like that. Those are all accounted for in this document. We have, and so we anticipate that we will be we'll have, and Gus sent out a message and it says, here's what we anticipate for the next year. And can you share that one?
Yeah, I did see that.
Yeah, and all I really wanted to do with that, like I think what we need to do tonight is just say, are we all okay with the ones we expect in the remainder of the current fiscal year? And then at the end of the fiscal year, we can
Foreseeable.
a preview of what next year's would be, and then we deal with that at the end of this fiscal year.
So it's the
Pre-approve
foreseeable
those
expenses that you want to share.
Yeah. Which isn't much.
Right there, fiscal year. So you see the reoccurring costs of MailChimp and Zoom.
Who just unmuted their thing?
Would you be talking too loud?
Right, let me see the participant list and see what I find.
I think it was probably clear.
Okay.
I think it's solved now.
And then there's a total there of our recurring fiscal year costs.
Yeah.
And then there's projected for 2024, 2025.
So
Wait a minute. Where's the total of projected recurring costs?
It's the fiscal year 2023, 24. You see MailChimp.
Yeah, that's not a total because that leaves off the Squarespace. You've got the
the
total.
Squarespace already been charged.
Right, it's already been charged. So the point is the annual.
That is the foreseeable ones from this point.
From this date. Okay.
Yes, for the rest of the year, because what's already happened's already happened. There's sort of no point in asking permission for the stuff that's already been done. This is just, we all okay with the expected remainder of the fiscal year expenses. That's the only thing we need to be okay with today. But I'm just giving you a preview. That's what it looks like for the next year. And we will deal with that when we get to the end of the current fiscal year.
And this doesn't include things we've talked about, like for ratio for upgrades of equipment and all that kind of stuff.
Because we don't know what that, we don't have any specific proposals.
Somebody might come up with a recommendation on upgrading microphones.
Right. At which point we will just quickly ask everybody okay with,
We'll vote on it
spending that.
and
Yes,
approve
we'll
it.
vote on it and approve on it once we have
Yes.
a specific proposal on the table. We don't have any specific proposals. Yes, Kimberly.
Did we come to some conclusion about the issue that we talked about 2 meetings ago where the county was potentially holding the funds without distributing?
I'll get to that when I do my quick briefing on my meeting with Ray. Okay.
I've got something to report on that.
Yes, Dan.
Do I stop sharing?
Yeah, it's fine.
We're done.
Unless anybody wants.
Okay, let's get closure on this. Are we good with what we've
Let
seen?
let Dan say what he's.
Okay.
What he's got, and then we'll quickly.
Just that I spoke with Supervisor Mueller
Mhm.
and he said that he's working on getting the $3,000 to us. And I'm expecting whatever other suggestions he has as far as maybe Marisol, do you have anything because we've been kind of waiting.
Yes, and my I think it was my first or second announcement earlier today when I said that there was a letter about fiscal. That's what I was referring to, the $3,000. So that's still pending for review because I understand that it comes on the letterhead from the county executive's office, and then also the supervisor has already reviewed it. So we're just kind of pending review.
And then any other changes to how we operate? There was
I didn't see if you guys.
administrator.
There may be some, yeah, but let's just get this put to bed, and then I'll deal with that when I talk about my
Okay.
meeting with him. Do we need to vote? I think we need to vote. Is everybody okay with the proposed
The
remain?
treasurer's report.
Yeah.
I move we accept the treasurer's report.
Can I second that?
Yeah.
Is there a Bronx thing that I just violated?
Kimberly seconded.
Okay,
Great. Dan, do you have something you wanna, before we vote, anything you wanna? Doing over there.
First like solitaire.
Just pushing buttons at random, I'm sorry.
Just that I think that we should look at our MailChimp, you know, I think that for a long time, we weren't paying anything because we're under threshold. Clean up our list, you know, maybe there's people that don't, you know, I don't know how many people truly read the newsletter with the energy that is you know, extended to produce it.
I can comment on that.
So if the list was, you know, hey, if we're above the threshold and everybody's excited, they want, then we go ahead, pay the monthly thing. If we can clean it up, then maybe we can get off that monthly, you know. fee. That was just one thing. Other than that, I agree with everything else.
So it used to be that if you were under 100 people, it was free. And the reason we were over 100 is we had like 450 people on the newsletter, which we're not sending out. So Dan's suggestion would have made sense, except now we're over 100 people. So we're in the low 105 or something like that. Subscribers, she's part of the problem. We just added her. So we can't cut back for free because we're over 100.
But has the list been cleaned up? That's the question.
I haven't had anybody say they wanted to be withdrawn. I don't know how you would clean it up.
I think it's worth it to spend that money to get more people in.
I agree. I think it's just an opportunity to get.
Do we have any knowledge for certain that
we do
it has been successful in getting more people? I don't think we do have any knowledge of that, so.
Well, one of the things I think we have an opportunity to do as a council is to do more outreach, which part of that would mean getting more people on our distro list or whatever. Anyway. I would like to vote on just accepting the treasurer's report. We okay with that?
And do your thing.
All right. Let's start the opposite way this time. Dan?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
Claire?
Yes.
Me, yes.
Yes.
Kimberly?
Yes.
Grace?
Great.
All right.
Okay, and that gets us to council activity. Normally I would go last. Let me just go first this time because I had a long meeting with Ray the other day. First thing we talked about was the money thing. Second thing we talked about was getting representation. Thank you so much for being here. First thing we talked about was the money stuff, and what Ray said to me was that in the conversations he's had with other folks in the county trying to get this done for us, everyone is sort of amazed that we've been able to do this the way we've been doing it for as long as we've been doing it. He said to be something very, very close to Don is able to do things that the rest of us can't do. He said we should be prepared for the fact that we may not be just handed checks anymore. Like we may have to go through what is the normal process for anybody working in the county, which is to have to submit there's like a form you got to fill out like in advance and like submit it and make sure that it's an approved expense and all this kind of stuff. And the $3,000 would sit at the county, not in our bank account. And when the expenses got approved, they would be deducted from that. I don't know what the mechanics of that are, and neither did he. So there's a little bit of TBD on whether, in fact, somebody will eventually just give us a check that we can deposit in this account, or whether we're going to have to adapt to some process that's more like what everybody else in the county does. That's yes, Greg.
How's North Fair Oaks handled?
I have no idea. Don't know. I'm trying to get lunch with the chair of North Fair Oaks.
Yeah, I couldn't get one either.
Yeah, it was. Supervisor Slocum did a intro, so I was hoping with his weight on there, might be able to pull that off, but so far hasn't happened.
We don't know about PMAC either.
I have
Uh,
some-
reached out to PMAC yet, but
I think Lisa wants to.
yes,
We have
Lisa,
two people with their hands up.
Would you
Yeah,
like to say?
so I was involved in the switchover. We used to have the county administer the money, and then any unspent money at the end of the year was lost to us. And this was in 2012. We found out that PMAC had the system that the council currently has. They get to keep the extra money. And so we asked and got the same treatment, and hence we have money built up that can be very useful, such as the consultants fees that we paid in the past. So I don't know specifically about North Fair Oaks. They're not quite like MCC in that their council members are not elected, they're appointed, but PMAC definitely has the system that you have. And the trade-off is, okay, the county would do, you submit your receipts to the county and get reimbursed, but you lose any unspent money, and that's a big trade-off. And so, and with the new supervisor, he's not aware of this history. If you would like, I could review that with him, but
yeah,
I think it's so much that Don could do things that others can't do. It's that maybe they're not aware of the history and treating the different councils the same. Thanks.
Yep. I mean, feel free to, because you know that history in a way that I don't, so feel free to have that conversation with Ray if you can. Okay, yes.
So the two questions I have, Lisa kind of mentioned, but I think to emphasize that changes our ability to, we receive a small amount of funds to begin with. So if we can no longer save that amount so that we have larger amounts to apply to things, because 3,000 doesn't go very far. If you have like a consultant you want to pay, you need to save up for that over several cycles. So we would be losing those funds. That's a big deal. The other thing is what the possibility that those funds set aside for us could be repurposed, even if before they're unspent at the end of the year. I'd want to know that as well. I think it's worth pushing. We have up to this point. I'm assuming that cities don't have to go through this process. This is strictly a county allocation thing. And I guess I'm wondering about the possibility of losing our allocation even before we get to the end of the year because money needs to be repurposed to something else.
Noted. Those are reasonable points. Anybody else with points related to the budget stuff? No? Okay. So the next thing we talked about was Seton. So my understanding of...
Wait, I had my hand up.
Oh, sorry, Crystalline. Yeah, go ahead.
No worries, no worries. I just want to confirm that city has to do it that way too. So for the OCC, we have to get reimbursed for the money. And so even like for the chamber, we have to submit invoices, post and show documentation. So whatever money we spent on the programming, we have to justify it with receipts and pay stubs and all of those types of things. And then the city takes that and creates their own invoice with all of us together and then gets reimbursed from the county. But one thing to your that you might want to mention, because what Lisa brought up was a great point, is that the other entities like the city have other revenue sources, whereas MCC, PMAC, and Fair Oaks don't. So that would be a justification for why you need to be treated different, regardless of the amount of money. You would essentially have to spend money out of your own pocket and then get reimbursed, whereas the city has a general fund to work out of.
Right.
And Chris Lynn, Can you give us an idea of the range of the allocation that you have?
The allocation for the OCC is 2.5 million over 2 years.
That's a big difference. So, I mean, a small $3,000 versus, you know, large amounts.
We'll take that.
Joey, I think it's best to just wait for the letter, and otherwise we're just throwing a bunch of guesses out there.
Yeah, well, I just wanted to give everybody an opportunity to say what they wanted to say about it. I, by the way, made the point that I was not super comfortable with the idea of us personally expending money and then hoping the county would reimburse us. Like that was my big pushback in that to that idea of that process applying to us. Anyway, okay. Any other comments on?
As we are volunteers, we don't pay.
Right. Yes. Okay, so anyway, Seton. So my understanding of the Seton issue, to kind of circle back to what Harvey said, is that what Ray is in the middle of right now is a negotiation for urgent care on the coast while we wait to see what happens with Seton, because obviously we have no urgent care right now. We have nothing right now. So this is a short-term contract that he's literally in the middle. He's like, I can't tell you who it is because I'm in the middle of the negotiation. But it's a short-term contract that gets us to the point in time where we get to find out whether Seton is going to deliver all the lovely things they came and said to us here, or whether they were playing us like a $2 banjo. I don't know which one it is, but we'll find out at the end of the year. So, and then if it's the happy case that they are gonna go back to doing all the things they're supposed to do, then great, then contract, I guess, will just end at some point. And if not, then at least we already have an existing urgent care provider, and then we can either, you know, do a longer contract with them or do something else or whatever. But it's a short-term fix. It's not intended to be a long-term fix that he's putting in place on his own without talking to any of the rest of us.
I'm skeptical.
Okay, well.
You can't put something like an urgent care center together and for a 4-month period of time until Seton opens up again. It's just not possible. And I'll be pleasantly surprised. Let's put it that way. I cannot find any evidence that this is happening.
Okay.
But
anyway, that was my understanding.
That's what he said.
This is not intended to be a permanent solution. It's intended to be a bridging solution until we find out what happens with Seton.
Okay.
Anyway.
So I
Yes.
guess I'm a little confused because I thought the original contract ran to the end of the year. So are we acknowledging that contract is null and void? Does this replace that? What's the deal with that?
It runs till the end of 2025.
Okay.
I mean, on a practical level, we have no urgent care. So this is
Anything's
anything's better than nothing.
I guess I'm thinking we already have a contract. Why would we be negotiating another short-term contract? Because the first contract should be an obligation already, right?
You're saying that they need to set up a thing over there because it's their responsibility.
Yeah, well, they've very clearly not done that. So, I mean, that ain't happening. For whatever, whether it should or shouldn't is irrelevant. It's not.
Sounds like a case for legal action.
Sure, that may be true. Okay, and then I talked to him a little bit about Measure K, and he said there is some kind of report that lays out like what was spent where and why or something, but I don't know what that
We asked Marisol to get us the copy, especially highlighting anything spent on the Midcoast.
I don't think there's any.
Let me find out which report it is.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you.
I think I've seen it at the meetings, at the Board of Supervisors meetings. I'm pretty sure they.
Yeah, I mean, there was
recently.
a proposed budget. So we had a proposed budget hearing. So I'm not sure if you're referring to that or if there's like the annual report, that's a different thing.
On stormwater, we talked about like DPW is going to put together a proposal for what an assessment district would look like, if there were one, because right now it's all this sort of one-off stuff.
Can I ask something
yes,
to that?
yeah.
Because I talked to Ray about that, in passing a while back. And I said, I think there is an assessment district. And he says, can you find me evidence of that on your property tax bill? And I sent it to him. And it is there, but I don't know if he ever got it. So
Can you clarify what that is?
on my property tax bill, there's a thing for the sewer district and some other water infrastructure. I forget exactly what it was. I'm just looking for. Wouldn't you share that with me? Yeah. It's a stormwater fee. That's what.
Oh, it's a $7.65 stormwater fee that we all pay to help me out, Big Voters Group, CCAG. And it's for permitting for the county, and that doesn't actually provide stormwater management. If you have something else, then I'd love to know what it is.
Yeah. It may have been the wrong thing, but I said it.
And then Claire on this retreat thing.
You know, the portion of this meeting is to share correspondence and let people know the meeting's attended. But not to have in-depth conversation, discussion.
I think this is very important.
You would not like me to share what Ray and I talked about?
I think this is.
No, I'm just saying, yes, share it, and then we stop. We don't have that deep.
We don't talk about it.
Well, I think we can try to move on.
I'm gonna try. I know it's late. I'll try to get it as fast as possible. That retreat thing, the healthcare thing. Ray said he Half Moon Bay put that on, and he was invited to it, and he assumed that you would be there and that other people would be. He had no idea that you weren't invited.
See, I have an ongoing thing about Half Moon Bay. Please let us know what you're doing. The county, please let us know what you're doing, because we're caught in the middle and everybody thinks, well, somebody else must have said something to them. And so I'm just reiterating it. And I'm sorry that if they didn't tell me, or they didn't tell you. But thank you for bringing it up.
Yeah. Anyway, so yes, what I said to Ray was anytime somebody invites you to anything on the Midcoast, will you just
exactly
heads up. Yeah, just I was like, you don't even have to. I'm happy to not even admit where I got the information from. I can just call somebody and be like, hey, I heard a thing is happening. I'm totally happy to do it that way. I'm not gonna out you if you don't want me to out you, but just I need some moles to let us know what's happening. So,
perfect.
Okay. All right, that's the end of what I got. Anybody else?
I've got 4 things, but in the interest of time, if it wouldn't violate the Brown Act, I would type up a short paragraph of each of the 4 things and send it to you all.
Great, yes, and then
You're my hero.
and then we just don't comment on it. Fantastic. Anybody else? Kimberly?
I just wanted to alert Claire that last night at the city council meeting, the Half Moon Bay City Council meeting, there was a presentation from the Adult Day group, the Adult Day program, and I made the announcement, the MCC announcements, and I highlighted that you were working with a group on healthcare needs of the unincorporated coast side, and that anybody interested or who has feedback should get in touch with you.
Thank you. Or any of us really, but thank you.
Okay, great. Any other council activity? No? Great. Okay, so just future agenda. I think we have a whole bunch of stuff we're going to need to read about this fire station. Well, we also are going to need to review the GCSD stuff, because their deadline, I don't know if you heard that, was the 17th or something. So which means we only have whatever we're going to say about it, we have to say in the next meeting, and we have to settle it then and vote on it then. So
we also have a whole flurry of development permit applications, which is going to take a lot of time for the 3 of us.
Okay, well, so I'm happy to read the neg deck for GCSD. Somebody else want to read it with me, and then maybe we'll come up with a draft letter of thoughts on it, and then we can just have one of those meetings where we edit that in the meeting. We're just gonna have to do it that way, unfortunately.
So what do you want to do now? You just want to?
We're gonna read the neg deck.
Okay.
And figure out what do we want to say about it. This is the comment period, and we're gonna have to submit those comments by the 17th.
On that.
Yeah, okay, great. You want to work with us on that?
No, you two guys.
Let's look at the park.
Yes, the park.
All right, I'm in because there's a pickleball thing going on and I'm getting bothered by pickleball.
Okay.
So if I can put pickleball.
Oh, you want to pitch them on a pickleball court?
It needs to be an agenda item.
Okay. fair
There's a
enough.
lot of people that are talking about it.
Okay,
Okay, so then I will vote that I'll comment at the meeting on
Okay.
it.
sounds good.
So
Okay, great. So
am I
three of
hearing
us.
we have fire station, MCC communications policy part 2, and GCSD plan review for next meeting?
I think communications part 2 is just, you guys send me something like that and I send it to Tim.
So we don't need to discuss it.
I don't think we need to discuss it in the next, let's kick that one to 2 meetings from now.
Okay, good.
And then I think fire station and GCSD is like,
That's enough.
that's enough. Particularly if we're gonna have to edit a letter in the meeting, like that's it. I don't want to put anything else on that agenda.
So we're on future agendas. Bob Vitalio, I had the opportunity to talk with him and he's willing to come to the MCC and talk to us about shoreline.
Nice. Wow, that sounds great.
So I think he asked me to send him some dates. So what dates would you like to send him?
He said June or July, is that correct?
About the first one in July.
Yeah. First meeting in July?
Yeah, whatever.
Okay.
Give me a second, I look that up.
Give me a date.
1 second. Hold please. That is the 10th.
July 10th. And alternative would be the next meeting?
The 24th. Yeah.
Okay. So I'll give him those 2 options. Okay, good.
Great.
And then Ann, you had something?
Me?
Are there shoreline issues, including all the things Jim Pruitt is working on? I don't know if you're aware of the difficulties he's having.
Yes, I am.
Is it covered in this?
I think we can ask the questions. I don't know, so Bob would be coming to talk to us neutrally about like fact-based issues, geologic issues, what are the problems, with erosion on the coast side and that. If the issues with if you're referring to Harbor District issues where it's more of a.
The Army Corps of Engineers,
Action.
the erosion and all that.
Right, so he can answer things about those if you ask the questions. If there's something specific that anybody wants me to ask him to cover, then you let me know and I'll ask him if he can cover certain things. But it should be things that are not political
Science
opinion.
stuff, not policy stuff.
Science, not policy. Yes, thank you.
Okay. All right, so I think we just settled a whole bunch of future agenda stuff. Great. Anything else?
Well, yeah, well, then just for me.
All right,
So you
yes.
need somebody to take.
Oh,
That's right. Okay, yes.
Starting when?
The next meeting. Yeah.
And it cannot be me, Greg, or Scott, because we already.
Oh, joy.
So.
Yeah, and I'm
it's either
sorry,
you,
I'm
Claire,
sorry,
or
to-
Dan.
if possible, if not, we can work on it, but sooner rather than later, it's better for me.
I presume this AI thing that gets generated
If
is
it's
not
good,
adequate.
Be fine with me if it works.
If it works, would you be willing to do a second there?
Because then you're just.
Well, no, it takes, the problem is it takes me a very long time to put everything in, on the
It's
computer, and it
time-consuming.
is very time
It
consuming.
took me
And
6 hours minimum
yes,
in one meeting.
It's
can have somebody-
extraordinarily long,
we can
and
have
the
somebody-
problem is I have ongoing migraine headaches and they've been getting worse. I'm also dealing with family issues, health issues, parent, and it's a really difficult time. And one, I don't have that kind of time to spend to do the job I need to do. And 2, I really can't go back and watch the videos. No, I'm limiting screen time. So, that's part of the problem. And so this is something I
understand.
Yeah, I need
I
to do that.
have,
Yeah.
I have similar challenges that way. I also have migraines. and have been investigating screen aids for eye problems.
Yeah.
So, I'm willing to take on that if somebody's willing to be a backup that, you know, because I'm good, I'll just say I'm going to be doing some more caregiving for my father. So I'll be a caregiver for my father in some weeks upcoming. And when that happens, it's very hard to concentrate on anything else. So, you know, you might lose me for a couple of weeks, just because I may not have the bandwidth to deal with that. And I'll also raise that during those couple of weeks, I will have to be remote, and that means we will have the question, I will be exceeding my allowed minutes under AB, what is it, 1249?
Only if it's a matter you need to vote
Okay,
I'm okay with giving an exception for that.
well, I think we have. to be
Rich, I can do it on a
careful
piece of paper right now.
what the state rules are, so.
Scott's gonna write you a permission slip telling you.
on. We can attend, not as a voter.
For myself all the time.
Right, and that's fine, but Tim would insist that if you're gonna vote, that you be limited to whatever the exception is.
Okay, well, so maybe we can discuss that later. I don't think we have to discuss it now, but I just want to flag it. So with that, I will take over your
Thank you.
minute responsibilities, and with the caveat that somebody can back me up when I can't, if I can't get to it during those caregiving times.
Well, I guess if anybody's gonna back you up, it's gonna be me.
Sorry, Claire.
I would say if I do any minutes, they're gonna be short and sweet.
Fine with me.
And I would encourage you to do the same. I don't think they need to be as detailed as we've been making.
Okay. Okay, I think Anne's been good at keeping them pretty short and sweet.
I'd make it even shorter and sweeter.
Yeah, because I've had details that were incorrect, so.
Well, let's you say that.
There you go.
That happens to everybody, and just, I hate to do this, but did we have action items from that we didn't do our action items this meeting? And
Lisa's raised her hand.
Okay, Lisa, do you want to jump in?
Oh, it's not about what you're talking about. A couple of things I wanted to make sure you're aware of. I updated the MCC website, the Surfers Beach page. That the construction for the sand replenishment is anticipated next year, 2025. Permitting and funding depending. They have lost the 800 grand, the largest grant that they had lined up, because it had been punted along so many years, it could not be renewed. And so, I don't know what, but anyway, I get this information from the, it's not an agenda item, but every meeting, the general manager has a report. And it was it was either in there or project updates, but whatever. I just wanted you to be aware of that. And also this, on the topic of, this relates to the Harbor District as well, the bike lanes with the multi-asset project versus the parking, that I'm not sure you're all aware, but the Harbor District purchased all the land on the west side of the highway. Now they own everything down to next to Sam's Chowder House, including the little house that's there. And at the meeting, when they were having this in closed session, when they finally had it in an open session, they said the purpose was going to be for parking. They had nothing else planned. And this is west side of the highway parking, right above the coastal trail. And that's all I have. Sorry to interject. Bye.
Sid, do you have something?
It'll be really quick. I attended the Pacifica Planning Commission work session, I think they called it, or something like that. I believe it was Monday night. And I don't know if you guys are aware, but they're going to reclaim that quarry, and there's like 400 truckloads of dirt a day planned for 2 to 3 years. So I live in Moss Beach, and to go anywhere north, we're gonna have to go through Pacifica. So that's something you might want to follow for future long range agendas. They're just talking about it now, but It's on Zoom if you, YouTube if you want to watch the meeting.
It's a million. Can I make a motion to adjourn because this is not the time for this type of comments.
Future agendas, but get 1 second, Dan. Yes.
Yards of dirt, and there's concern that it's including toxic landfill from the Cypress Point site.
Interesting. Nice. All right. Anything else? No? Okay, Dan, you wanted to make a motion?
Motion to adjourn.
Anybody object? All right. Good job.